You're listening to The Pete Sheppard Show.
Oh, it's good to be back.
Here, Turpin, if you can help it. That's blocked! And picked up by Cincinnati out across the 46. It was blocked by Nick. A minute 10 left. Burrow, sideline, Chase, spin. There he goes. Jamar Chase.
Not catching him.
Touchdown, bang.
Oh, Leon Lett, you're off the hook, baby. Oh, it's been so long. Who could ever forget that Thanksgiving afternoon in blizzard-like conditions in Dallas as Miami kicked the game-winning field goal 16-14. 1993 for you youngins out there who don't remember. Leon Lett, you're off the hook after last night, baby. Omani Oruwari should have left well enough alone after the blocked punt, but he didn't. Maybe he thought he was going to run it in for a touchdown. That wasn't going to happen, but instead he messed it all up. 1:53 left on the Bengals' 43-yard line, and as you heard, Cincinnati made him pay. They were in 27-20. And good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Pete Sheppard Show here on the Coastal Sports Network. Thanks for checking us out across the video platform on the Sports Radio app, 102.9 The Game and 1029thegame.com. Following me on the video platform on Twitter X at PShep326, on Facebook, Ion TV, CSN Florida, Rumble, Kick, Spotify, LinkedIn, Twitch, YouTube, and call or text the show 727-858-6650. What a night in the Monday Night Football. Another great game last night. And a very entertaining game in more ways than one. You had the Manning cast. And I'm going to get to all the hysterical Simpson highlights. Absolutely amazing stuff last night. What they did in that game, in case you missed it. But if you did miss it, it didn't have Disney Plus or ESPN Plus, I've got all the highlights of the Simpson cast. It is absolutely hysterical. What is not hysterical, and we get a great show lined up for you today with Bill Sparrows from the Boston Herald and Bookies.com joining me at 8:30. And then at 9:30, Kevin McNamara, big college hoops insider, and has a show on WPRO in Providence as well. He is going to join me, and we'll talk some college hoops at 9:30 this morning. It's about that time. But if it wasn't for this game last night, which we'll get into a little bit, have all the reaction, but we are going to heavily get into what happened in The Simpsons, and we are really going to get into what happened yesterday on WIP radio in Philadelphia. Brandon Graham, who has since backtracked his comments, but put it out there in full detail about why this Eagles team, despite the 9-game winning streak, and they're playing some good football, why they are at the bottom of the league in a lot of passing statistics. But nevertheless, 9 in a row is 9 in a row. But he laid it out in a line that there's friction between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. And clearly, going back and seeing some of the highlights of last week's game against Carolina, where he was wide open, A.J. Brown, and did not get him the ball. Something is going on there. Nick Sirianni, I don't care if he's going to play Dr. Phil, Dr. Rule, Dr. Doolittle, Dr. Spock. I don't give a damn what it is. He better fix this week, because if they lay an egg at home against Pittsburgh on Sunday, man, you could see it unraveling all over again, just like last year. And you do not want that, because things were going reasonably well. We'll have some big-time reaction to after the Carolina game from some of the Eagles fans who were leaving the link. It is pretty funny, and it's adult-rated, so just get ready for it. And with that, we say good morning to Angel Martinez. And, man, here we are again talking about the Eagles in not such a great fashion. I kind of feel like you've been sitting on this and waiting on this all year, and maybe this is something that's been brewing. What is really disturbing, and I'll play the cut in a minute here, because I think this story sort of supersedes what happened last night with Dallas and Cincinnati, two teams that aren't going to make the playoffs. I'll maybe get to those highlights a little bit later on. The big story there is that Dallas is in position to win, but this is what they do at home. 90% of the time is they lose, and the Bengals win and they cover. The over didn't hit, but the Bengals did cover again. So 1-0 for the start of the week for me. But that aside. Brandon Graham's comments yesterday. Let me just play it, Angel, right out of the gate here. Let me just play this one big comment, and then we can get to it. He has since backtracked from all of this to ESPN anyway, but nevertheless, it is out there. This was at a big platform, and I believe absolutely 100% of what he said. Here's Eagles defensive end Brandon Graham on WIP yesterday.
The person that's complaining need to be accountable. And I'm just being honest. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he know this. I don't know the whole story, but I know that one is trying. And I mean, 11 could be a little better with how he respond to things. And they was friends before this. It's like, man, but things have changed. And I understand that because life happens. But it's the business side that we have to make sure that we don't let the personal get in the way of the business, and that's what we got to do better as right now, because we know it's an issue. Everybody's seeing some things, but we need to be able to talk things out as men. You know what I'm saying? But we need to let personal stuff go and let's get right for this game, because man, it's like a lot of stuff. Most of the time, it's just a conversation that just need to be had. But the person with the problem gotta want to talk to the person other than others. Okay. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, now he has since responded to that and said, he says it to ESPN, I made a mistake and I assumed that it was something that it wasn't. I just want to win so bad that I just don't want to use the media when we need to talk about something and we can fix the problems ourselves. I didn't add it in a good light, so that's my bad. I just assumed that it made me out to look even worse because I had it all wrong, and now people are going to run with that part. I really just want to win, man, and I want brothers to be able to just hash it out. Look, he can try to backtrack and spew that crap at the end. We all know. I give him a lot of credit for saying what he said. I'm sure the Eagles are. Look, he very easily could have said, hey, we just have to communicate better on offense. We know we have a good offense. With Saquon Barkley, all the Pistons can be fine. He could have said something very generic like that, but he went into great detail. And the part, Angel, that really stuck out to me was when he used that word personal. So I don't know what that is. That could be anything. I don't want to read into it anything more than it is. I have theories in my head. But if something is personal between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, this is where Nick Sirianni, you get paid to do this. This is what you have to do, whether you want to be a psychologist or not. I don't care if you lock him in a padded room with gloves and let him go at it and hash it all out. Whatever it is his responsibility, and the two fellas as well, to get this thing straightened out before their big game at home against the Steelers on Sunday, because this is a serious issue. I mean serious, not, earth-shattering, worldwide, crisis. But in the NFL, this is a serious issue when the quarterback and one of your top receivers can't get it together here. And it's quote-unquote personal by one of your other leaders, Brandon Graham. So I don't know, Angel. When this story came out yesterday, I was thinking of you, and I knew this was going to be big. So I want to get your reaction, being the great Eagles fan that you are. And please just don't say I told you so.
Okay. You know where I'm going with this, because again, I know there's a lot of folks, they're on that bandwagon. I get it. It's a cute thing. I understand. But in the end, it still comes down to this team is not firing on all cylinders. They're just not. And I keep saying it over and over again. When it comes down to it, it's going to happen where if the Eagles make it far into playoffs, there's just going to be a disconnect. Now, I mentioned Nick Sirianni. I'll give him credit. He's played 25% better than what I had talked about a couple months ago. And I'll just give him, I'm not even going to give him 26, 25% better. But the entire locker room has to be in unison. And if they're not, and you guys also remember too that I mentioned about Jalen Hurts, yes, has he made progress, but at the same time too, there's always some sort of disconnect. So half of the plug is in there, the other half is out. And I don't know when they're going to fully insert so we can get this team where it needs to be. But for a moment, it's like watching it when you plug something in, you get that spark because your house is not grounded correctly. That's it.
You know what happened last night? And as I digress for 2 seconds here, for some reason we have some nice decorations outside Reindeer. Our whole neighborhood, our neighbors have some great decorations up as well. The whole street does here in Fort Myers. But when the sprinkler system comes on and one of our reindeer gets wet, it triggers one of the breakers in the house, and part of the house goes. That's the second time it's happened. It was aggravating. It happened around 11 o'clock last night. Anyway, we digress. I think you just nailed it, Angel. I think you hit the nail on the head as far as that goes. And this is where Nick Sirianni, we're going to really see what kind of coach he is, because it was a disaster last year. You couldn't turn it around. This year was going a hell of a lot better. I think the Pistons you're talking about, I think you're firing on about 90% or 80% of the Pistons. You just need to get the passing game in order. And if it's something personal, and I went back this morning and I looked at and I'm telling you, every game gets taped for me on YouTube. And I am telling you, A.J. Brown, there had to be 3 times on Sunday, Angel, where he was open 3 times. Yeah. Now, the part about the fans being so pissed off, we'll get to that in a second, because you didn't blow out Carolina. Look, the Chiefs almost lost to them. Go look at Carolina's schedule. They've been playing a lot better lately. There's no shame in not blowing out the Carolina Panthers. Now, I thought the Eagles would, but then you see the disconnect between Hurts and Brown. You understand. But initially, I was like, don't worry about that. They almost beat the Chiefs. They almost beat a couple of teams, even though their record is awful. It's still the National Football League. They're still playing with pride. So I didn't want Eagle fans to get so caught up in, we didn't win by this, the wins weren't sexy enough. I went through that many years in New England, many times after wins. And, for some people, and these were during some Super Bowl years, Angel, or at least getting the conference championship years, it wasn't good enough because they didn't blow out the teams like they were supposed to blow out. I mean, you can't do that every single week. But I do think it is disturbing what I saw when I went back and rewatched, is how AJ was open several times. There was one, he was open right across the middle, like wide open. It would have been a touchdown more than likely, or at least a first and goal for the Eagles. And you got to wonder the personal thing. Did he not look that way on purpose? Because, man, it looked like he did. It looked like he was not going to give him the ball. And that is something that Nick Sirianni has got to fix here and now. Today, it's an off day for almost every team in the NFL. Usually Tuesdays are the off day. Plenty of time to hash this out. He's got to get those either 3 of them go in the office or put them boxing gloves on and go in a padded room, whatever it is, lie on Nick Sirianni's couch and talk it out. They better get this done. If they lay an egg on Sunday against the Steelers, Angel, this could be a gigantic mess. And I'm not saying that that's going to happen. They got a couple of days here to straighten it out. I imagine the next couple of days when the Eagles speak tomorrow during another press conferences on Thursday, I imagine that Nick Sirianni and company, Kellen Moore, OC, are going to try to put a gigantic I am stuck on Band-Aid because Band-Aid stuck on me. That's what's going through my head. They got to fix this, Angel, by the next couple of days here.
Yep, they have to.
If it is fixable.
Well, they have to. They have no other choice. You can't listen. Everybody knows. There's no I in team. There can be if you want to have it, but there isn't. And with the Eagles, it's always been something. And I'm telling you, I know people don't want to bring it up. It started and has continued from last season onto this season. And that's the biggest thing that has me worried. Because if we're going to go down that route again, we'll see this 9-game win streak mean absolutely nothing towards the end of the season. And it's not, the schedule doesn't get any easier. But the Eagles have to find a way to get these guys together. You have to. Because it takes 1 to 2 players to not be able to do so. And then it's just going to screw the team. If they can find a way.
Most important players, especially on, the quarterback is your number one. And then your top receiver, A.J. Brown. They have to be in sync here. It bothers me about the personal thing, Angel. And I don't know about anybody's personal lives. I don't know. A lot of times this comes, figure it out for yourselves. I mean, everybody's going to have a theory. When it's personal, why all of a sudden, if these guys were friends, what happened here? And in the back of my mind, you're always thinking some friendship of somebody else. Is there women involved? I mean, there's a lot of theories that you can come up with. When I hear personal in professional athletics, a lot of thoughts go through my head because I've been through it a lot. And that opens up a gigantic can of worms. And that's the one. And I wasn't sure if the boys at WIP asked a follow-up question. I'd like to know what Brandon Graham meant by personal. That, to me, is the question. Well, besides not looking at him down the field and open, I think it goes deeper than that. There's a reason why he wasn't looking for him, because it's personal. And I want to know, I want to find out what it is.
To me, it's one of those dumb things that we've seen in the NFL all the time. And we hear about the diva talk, like, I'm a diva, he's a diva, we're a diva. Wouldn't you want to be a diva too?
You want to be a diva too? Be a diva. Please be a diva.
But nonetheless, it comes, sometimes it just comes down to just the dumbest things ever. How many arguments or how many companies have broken up over the dumbest things ever?
You're right.
It seems like that's the route that these two clowns are going.
It's one thing if it's strictly personal because it's on field and for whatever reason they're fighting like dumbasses for over stupid shit and he's purposely not looking at him down the field, that's fixable. It better be. It should be fixable. You don't have to love everybody in that locker room, but you have to be able to get along with everybody. Not everybody's going to love everybody in the locker room. Not everybody loves or likes all the employees that they work with. But you try to be a team player and get it done. Rick says Hurts is the godfather of AJ's kid. That's personal. Could be anything to the media. We'll make it bigger than that. Okay, that's something I didn't know, that Hurts is godfather to A.J. Brown's kid. But I don't know what that has to do with anything. It may. I'm sure, Rick, you might be onto something, because it very well could be some sort of family, somewhat godfather, interfamily issue. And I don't know what it is. But for Jalen Hurts not to look for him, and he'll probably deny it tomorrow, Angel, or Thursday when he speaks again. He'll probably say, "Nah, it was." If he's smart, he'll say, "It's on me. I should have looked better. I need to read the coverage better." That's what he should say. I don't know if he actually will mean it, but that's what he should say. I'm interested to know what Nick Sirianni is going to say, and I hope they pepper the Eagles media like I know they can, and pepper him about Brandon Graham and the personal issue. Now, if Sirianni's smart, he's going to deflect everything and say, look, we're handling it internally, and that's all I'm going to say about it. I've spoken to both players, and we're all on the same page. That's all he has to say, end of story. But something tells me they won't, and something tells me that the Philadelphia press is going to do a little digging here, and this might get worse before it gets better. And I'm not being hyperbole, Pete, here. I don't do that. You get. My gut tells me that there's something more here going on, and I think we'll probably find out in a couple of days. But Sirianni's got to be smart here and get a hold of this situation immediately, and just say the generic stuff and don't let it, don't let it snowball.
First of all, it should never come out, period. If you have issues, that should stay in the locker room, or if it's something personal, keep it within the four walls of your home. When you start letting stuff out and you start letting people get in there and they start running with it, you can forget about it. So if it is something it's different. If Jalen is throwing the ball to AJ and he's deliberately dropping it, or he's missing it, or the routes are wrong, then you have every reason why you're not going to throw to him maybe 2 or 3 other times just because he's dropping the ball. But if this is something stupid and personal that has nothing to do with field play, then challenge you both, because you guys should be bigger men than that.
Yeah, I agree, but that's where the problem is. And Brandon Graham, God bless him. This is great talk show host fodder, and I'm sure that IP and all the other Philadelphia stations, this is the number one story, sports wise anyway. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that you can get. You can get the rest of the season of sports talk show host fodder out of this. this type of stuff if you're in Philadelphia, Boston, New York. I guarantee you, because everybody now is going to have the Eagles under a microscope. Not that they weren't already, but now, especially on Sunday. Now, if they come out and kick ass on the Steelers or, play a lot better and the stats, they're 31st in passing as far as, I think, yards per attempt. There's a lot of the Eagles are like 25th or worse, or 26th or worse in 4 of 5 passing categories in the NFL, which is really shocking. Now, a lot of that has to do with the addition of Saquon Barkley, and he has been outstanding. He's going to be in the MVP conversation. But nevertheless, the Eagles need to be better in a passing attack if they want to get to the Super Bowl and win it. Big O Otis, my man. Hi, Pete. Hi, Otis. How are you? Need to check in here, Otis. Love to hear from you, my man. Hope everything is well with you and your family. Really appreciate you checking in. So, yeah, this is going to be really interesting, Angel, and we're going to really find out if Nick Sirianni has learned and growth and blossomed, grown and blossomed. Is he the little acorn that becomes the oak, far as a coaching standpoint and from a psychiatric standpoint? This is what coaches get paid to do sometimes. You got to sit down on my couch. You got to be Dr. Phil, or whatever doctor you want to believe in, and get this thing, grab the bull by the horns here and stop it immediately.
It's not going to happen. He's going to be the acorn turns into a peanut, as usual.
Well, let's wait. I mean, can't we give him the benefit? Let's give him the benefit of the doubt here. And I'm really interested, like I said, when I see him tomorrow or Thursday, talk about if he's peppered about personal. I want to see how generic he gets with some of this stuff, as he should. But when Brandon Graham, that was as detailed an explanation or detailed a situation, because I don't think a lot of Eagles fans, besides being pissed off, which we'll get to in a second, after the game, pissed off at Jalen Hurts because they didn't win by enough. Initially, when I saw that, I'm like, God, get over yourselves. I understand it. I went through this. I know that Patriot fans go through it in the Northeast, different mentality. If Miami comes out winning a game like that, against the pathetic Jets, okay, they had to take them in overtime before they won. They didn't see Dolphin fans, the few that were there, huffing and puffing. By the way, what a horrible home crowd that is for the Dolphins. It's terrible.
Yep.
And the Hurricanes have a lot to be desired as well, except for a couple of games this year. But I cannot wait to see. Initially I said, look, don't get carried away because you didn't whip Carolina by 30 points. Don't worry about the sexiness of wins, just wins. But these people, after they came out of the game, and now they're hearing this, I can only imagine the nastiness going on at Philadelphia Sports Talk Radio today. Rick says, I think it's a non-issue, and AJ and Devontae just want to play at their best and be involved more. Unfortunately, we have a good running game. It will calm down and be good for the Steelers. Rick, you might be right. You also, though, in the back of your mind, you cannot dismiss that if Nick Sirianni and if Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown can't get past this personal issue, whatever it is that Brandon Graham spewed, because I'm thinking about it, very rarely, Angel, do you hear players like Brandon Graham come out and call out, not only call out your quarterback, you call out one of your top wide receivers as well. It doesn't happen in the NFL all that often. So to me, that brings up that this has to be, again, I'm not being hyperbole, Pete. I think it's a little more serious situation from a football standpoint. Again, this is not national crisis news. We're not, shooting off missiles. This is about football. And I'm just wondering how serious this personal issue is. And can it be fixed? That's going to be the big question.
We shall see. But I know how the Eagles operate, and we shall see.
All right. I want you to scroll down. I have a lot of video to get to. And can you scroll down, Angel, to and it's a little ways down. It is under Dove Kleiman. It's actually under the drive with Q and then Dove Kleiman. And this is a video of Eagles fans, young and old, leaving the link on Sunday after the Eagles won, but apparently not by enough for a lot of Eagles fans over Carolina.
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
Boy, this will go viral. That's for sure.
If you're offended, I suggest you. Well, I mean, you know me. It's going to get played. So,
Of course.
Carolina Panthers suck! I don't know why we're struggling with Carolina. They suck. They went 2-15 last year.
We should have fucking killed them.
It was it's an okay, and then it was like, ooh, we won.
Jalen Hurts is not the answer.
Is that who we're putting on right now?
We have a number one defense, running back. Jalen Hurts is not the answer.
Big time win. Hurts balling out. Psych, he didn't do anything.
I think we should get a new quarterback. Maybe draft like Jackson Dart or like Jalen Milroe.
Why is Brown not getting enough touches?
You gotta include A.J. Brown, man.
I would not let Nick Sirianni come to the game within the first half because then he couldn't call the first set of plays and he can let Kellen Moore just run Saquon Barkley the entire time and we would win the game within the first half.
We gotta run the ball. I don't know what we're doing. Why 2nd and 1? Run the freaking football.
What would you do differently if you coached?
I would give Saquon the ball every time, and I would pass to A.J. Brown when he's open.
It's that easy, Nick Sirianni.
The Eagles should have won by more. I'm disappointed.
12.5-point favorites. You got to smack these dudes.
They're just jerking around.
Jerking around.
Jerking around.
Stop jerking around.
And beat the teams you need to beat.
Still Super Bowl hopes?
Oh, absolutely.
At the end of the day, we're all fucking delusional.
We go to the bowl.
Give me a victory swing.
Go Birds, baby.
Never in doubt.
Miss, it's hard to win in this league. True or false?
So true.
It's hard to win in this league. True or false?
True.
But a win is a win, isn't it?
Win's always a win.
It's the last night of the Eras tour, so I'm looking forward to getting home and live streaming that. But the Birds are great. Go Birds. Taylor's an Eagles fan. Go Birds.
Jeez.
Impressive. Most impressive.
That's for the guy who guzzled the beer.
Yeah.
What'd she say? She's going to the Eras tour. What was that Taylor Swift's thing?
Yeah, I think it's like it streamed for like the last time or something like that. I don't know, something of that nature.
God almighty. I don't have my glasses nearby. Andrew, can you read that from Matthew? I think it's a nice message, but thank you. I appreciate it. I can read Rick's. On a funny side, did you see the girl who got nailed by an Elliott missed field goal right in the face? Yes, I did see that. I did see that.
From Matthew says, Pete, I remember you when you were on WEI in Boston. I am a diehard Boston Red Sox fan for 76 years, and I hope they're going to make the trades and sign the free agents to make this team better and stop making excuses. The fans deserve it. And what do you think about, hang on for a second. What do you think about that? It's great to hear you again.
Matthew, thank you for the kind words. Yeah, I'm going to get into more of that with Bill Sparrows from the Boston Herald and bookies.com at 8:30 this morning. We'll get into it. I would like to say, look, I think the Red Sox are about 4 players away from being back to being fairly competitive for the entire season once again. They hung in there last year for a lot longer than I thought. But I have no faith right now in this ownership in John Henry. I just don't. They underbid the Mets by $65 million. And I'm sorry, but in this day and age, it doesn't cut it. It's a ridiculous amount of money. We all know it for a guy like Juan Soto or for anybody else. But I don't know how keen that this organization is right now on putting together a championship caliber baseball team. They have a lot to prove to me, Matthew. That's all I'm going to say. We'll get more into it with Bill Sparrows at the bottom of the hour at 8:30. So, again, Eagles fans and a lot of fans act like this over the top. And initially on Sunday, I'm like, guys, calm down. You didn't beat Carolina by 20. Who cares? You got the win. You're 11-2. You're doing great. But then this story comes out with Brandon Graham, which is just, you just don't see this happen in the NFL where a player comes out and really calls out for his quarterback and one of his top wide receivers to get together and end this conflict. And get back on track. We'll see what kind of coach Nick Sirianni is. If he's going to play psychologist/coach, he's going to do whatever he has to do to put a Band-Aid on this big time before the Steelers come into the link on Sunday. All right, quick break. When we come back, in case you missed it, because Angel's only going to be with us till 8 o'clock, I'm going to be here until 10. I got a great show lined up for you today. But Angel has pre-programmed. It's like programming the Enterprise on automatic pilot. So I can just hit a couple of buttons here and get my guests and the spots up and all that stuff. It's going to be great. But when we come back, all the Simpson highlights from last night, you got to see this. Absolutely hysterical, unbelievable stuff. And we're going to have it all for you. And plus, your reaction as well to what is going on in Philadelphia. 727-858-6650. Is this fixable? We shall see. The Heisman Trophy finalists are out as well. Cam Ward for the Miami Hurricanes absolutely is one of them. The top four are all there that you thought would be. We'll get into that as well. All part of the Pete Sheppard Show here on a Tuesday, December 10th on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jim and the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu.
Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it gardenia. It's pronounced Jardiniere.
Hey everybody, it's Pete Sheppard from the Coastal Sports Network. Want to tell you about my good friend Lou DiMuzio and his company. Lou is the president and founder of Ace Technology Advisors. They're big-time tech specialists. At ATA, they're able to craft, implement, and manage the best and most appropriate solution for your business. They leverage their industry-leading experience and their portfolio of technology partners to improve your best practices and infrastructure. So you can get a hold of them at 888-599-4223. That's 888-599-4223. Check them out on their webpage, www.acetechadvisors.com. That's www.acetechadvisors.com. Or you can email them, sales@acetechadvisors.com. Check out my friend Lou DiMuzio and Ace Technology Advisors.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable.
But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you. You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all of these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Awesome. Where were you, Jill?
Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
For the best in college football and NFL talk, check out The Pete Sheppard Show, 7 to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday.
Okay. Jerry, how much emotional whiplash is there going from the block to punt to having that Aurier play?
Well, but the odds are, the coach said we made the play and blocked the punt, but then we had a 1 and X happen when after blocking the punt we touched the ball. That's all should be figured in before we decide to block the punt.
Well, your special teams coach was waving like a maniac, like the Tasmanian devil, to get the hell away from the ball, but that didn't stop Amani Oruwariye to touching it anyway. The ghost of Leon Lett, who's not a ghost, he's still with us, from 1993. 1:53 left in the game. The Bengals end up winning, getting the ball at their own 43-yard line, and then scoring a touchdown not too much longer after that as the Cincinnati Bengals come back and beat Dallas 27-20. And Dallas lost at home. What a shock. What a shock. Big Otis says, Otis, my man, says Kansas City winning by 2 points the past 2 weeks. Well, they've been winning by under 5 points for a lot of games this year. Keyword winning. NFL, you take the win. Well, you know me, Otis. I always say that. It's I never care really on the whole about the sexiness of wins. There's always things in every NFL game you can clean up. But this is different in Philadelphia. This is something different. This is one of your top players comes out on a gigantic radio show on a big platform at WIP in Philly and calls out 2 other big-time names on your program and in your organization. That's a problem that needs to be corrected. Real quick, did the Baba Wawa thing again. Netflix's NFL Christmas Day doubleheader will feature Kay Adams as a host. Love Kay. Known her a lot. She's terrific. Robert Griffin III, Mina Kimes, Drew Brees, and Monte Teo, without the invisible girlfriend, all be analysts for you.
Huh. So you wonder, is that going to be the Netflix broadcasting team going forward?
I don't think so. Who's going to do play-by-play? They need a play-by-play person there. So Robert Griffin III, Mina Kimes, Drew Brees, and Monte Teo are going to be the analysts. I'm not sure who's doing play-by-play yet. It's probably out there. I just don't know.
Oh, I didn't want to break the news, but it's going to be me and you. I just didn't want to tell you until just now. So it's me and both of us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. I do want to get to some of this Simpson stuff because it was absolutely hysterical. But before that, Angel, just a couple of down. John Sutcliffe from ESPN Deportes last night on our awful announcing. It's 2 down. Getting the crowd fired up at Jerry's World. Do you see it?
Yep. This is going to be very good. I can feel it.
I saw this live.
ESPN and ESPN Deportes TV announcer John Sutcliffe is celebrating his 300th Monday Night Football game. Here's John to get us started tonight.
Buenas noches, Dallas! Es lunes! It's Monday! The Dallas Cowboys and the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday Night Football! ¡Viva la NFL! ¡Viva los Cowboys! ¡Y viva Monday Night Football! Monday Night on ESPN! ¡Viva!
That's our man, Sutcliffe. God, we love him. And I'll say one thing, Troy, he is not scared. Not one bit. Wow, we got a taste of that back in Mexico City a couple of years ago, and he just never disappoints.
It's like now Dallas is living La Vida Loca, losing. It's always great.
All right. Then we could, I just want to start. I'm not going to play this whole thing. I want to start. It's under Brandon Costa. It's right under where you put the banner up for the show. By the way, did you email me the banner this morning? Because I didn't get it.
Last night, senor.
I must have erased it again. My bad. I don't know why. I looked for it. I didn't see it. All right. Anyway, right under that, this is a cool thing. This is the Louisiana Philharmonic Orchestra. And they have been together maybe a lot longer than a lot of other. There's a New York Philharmonic, there's a Boston Philharmonic, there's a lot of Philadelphia. They're great musicians, unbelievable musicians. So they put this Simpson Fun Day football thing together for ESPN last night. Obviously, it's probably done well in advance. But this is a video. Even if you can't see it, listening to it is unbelievable. Watching the video of all these incredible musicians. I love seeing this stuff and how it's done. This is great. ESPN partnered with APM Music, which is the largest collection of music for production, innovative search system, Adobe Premiere, Pro Extension, Music Director Support Service, and Surpass Customer Service, and members of the Louisiana Philharmonic Orchestra. Check this out first, and we'll get into the Simpsons stuff. It's great. Great stuff. And I love how, they got the Monday Night Football theme. You incorporate a lot of the Simpsons music, which, unless you've been living under a rock, at least, even if you say you don't watch it, everybody knows that theme. When you hear it, it doesn't matter. It's like Star Wars theme. You cannot like Star Wars or be nerds like Angel and myself. But when you hear it, you know exactly what it is. All right. That's just part of it. That was great stuff right there. Okay, now let's go to, let's see. We're going to scroll down to the opening. Where is it? Because there's a couple here. I want to make sure we get this in the right order. We're going to play the best moments from The Simpsons. That's coming up. That's a bigger cut. But okay, Under Dove Climate again. This is right underneath the orchestra we just played. Angel. This was the intro last night, just the intro to the Simpsons broadcast between the Bengals and the Cowboys. This is fantastic.
Hey, lazy boy. How about getting some non-thumb exercise for a change?
Like you? You're just gonna lay in your hammock and guzzle.
The hammock is exercise. I engage my core to start the gentle swaying.
Looks like there was a meltdown in your core a while ago.
Okay, Junior Simpson. How about a game of actual football? Me and my awesome VIP friend group versus your sucky dweeb nerd posse.
Okay, but if I win, I get your desserts for a month, and not February.
Fine. And if I win, you have to dress up as me, go to work, and do nuclear stuff like a loser.
Deal. I'm already practicing my touchdown dances.
Oh, yeah? So am I. Daddy does not suck. He just needs a minute to watch film and break it down. Break film down. Break it all down.
It's Monday Night Football with the Cowboys hosting the Bengals.
I can be Bart. I have to be Bart. Just as long as I don't fall asleep. Must stay awake and not have a elaborate dream where Bart and I are in the NFL somehow.
And welcome to an elaborate dream where Bart and Homer are in the NFL somehow. That's right, the almighty shield has descended on Springfield in a mystery state. This game was supposed to happen in Dallas. Now it's happening in the little town that can't and won't. And with that, we say...
All right, so that was the opening. Now we're gonna play some of the highlights from it. This is right underneath it, a couple underneath under NFL. What a night in Springfield! Here, in case you missed it, and I don't care if this is. I'm always going to play the most entertaining videos on this show that I feel are entertaining. I know a lot of people don't have Disney Plus and they don't have ESPN Plus, so you missed out on the creativity. And this is hysterical, and you'll see. How they put this together during real time. It is absolutely brilliant and hysterical. In Major League Baseball, you need to take a photo. You need to copy this for your Major League Baseball games, and you'll get a much bigger audience. But here it is. Here's some of the best moments last night for the Simpsons on Fun Day Football last night, Cincy and Dallas.
Homer Simpson, Sector 17 Nuclear Power Plant.
Mo Sislak, Shelbyville Dog Training Academy.
Bart Simpson, University of South Melbourne, also known as You Smell.
Hi, Lisa Simpson, Harvard class of 28, then probably Yale class of 30. I think it's important to mix it up a little.
Nelson Munch, Springfield Elementary Detention.
Herschel Kristofsky, Clown College, also known as ASU.
I'm Ralph!
And now Homer enters the game.
Interesting. Dak Prescott out for the year. Cooper Rush a good start tonight, but they are putting Homer Simpson out there at quarterback.
Oh, boy.
On 2nd and 6, he fakes the give to Dowdle. He throws, and that is complete. What a start
Homer.
for Simpson. It's C.D. Lamb. Play clock down to 3. Simpson looking to throw. He floats it toward the end zone. Touch diddly down. C.D. Lamb. Woohoo! Burrow, Chase, and Higgins are out. Bart, Lisa, and Ralph are in. Bart Simpson takes the snap, throws to Ralph. Touchdown! Ralph! He's not in danger. He's in the end zone.
Yes! He choose to throw it to Ralph. I'm so happy for the little guy.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. Homer stinks!
Oh, they've got Lisa in there at running back. right next to Burrow. For a 2nd and 5, Burrow looks that way, throws it to Lisa. How much talent for Simpson? She's near the pylon. What's the call? It's a touchdown. We'll check the penalty.
Really? You're checking in with me? Instead, why not check in on the man dreaming this whole thing? One Homer Simpson. That half-shaven snowman built out of mayonnaise is laying on his couch, imagining all this foolishness. He has his baby daughter operating the Skycam, a task that's dangerous, difficult, and let's not forget, only for members of a union, which I am quite certain she is not. Also, since we have this moment, let me ask you, what do we make of a man who, even in his dream, is making mistakes? Incomplete passes, misread plays, etc. It's a joke. Homer J. Simpson is even too lazy to dream of himself as successful. And still, knowing all this, you've chosen to check in with me? I think you need to check in on him.
Look at Homer barking out instructions. On 2nd and goal, Homer drops back to pass. He throws. He connects. Touchdown, Dallas.
Bart, quarterback. Homer playing safety. Who's going to win the battle?
Ooh. When these guys come in, it seems like big plays happen. Bart back to pass on 2nd and 9. He throws. It is intercepted.
Oh, boy.
Homer Simpson catches it with the top of his head. Ay caramba, indeed.
Oh, he's never going to live that one down.
Face. It says, I'm Homer Simpson. Who the hell are you?
Oh, vicious taunt, Drew.
All right, well, Krusty has already hit one field goal from 37 yards. This from 29. Krusty's kick is up, and Krusty's kick is good. All right.
Oh, baby. Has really stepped it up tonight, particularly in some of these shorter yardage situations, and that's been a continuation of the last few weeks. It feels like things are finally trending in the right direction.
On a 2nd down and 2. And Cooper Rush gives Barney the rock. He finds a seam on the right side. There goes Barney Gumble. Free Duff beer for everyone. A gain of 27 as Barney sets up 1st down and goal.
Not bad for a guy who hasn't had an income in 32.
Don't tell Lisa.
So we thought Spider Pig is the ball, and Burrow throws Spider Pig to Mike Gesicki for a gain of 13. I don't know how I feel about that.
How hard do you think it is to catch a flying pig? Mike Gesicki does it seamlessly.
Burrow motions to him.
Sort of a, tight end build makes sense.
There it is. Nelson makes the catch, and he's out to midfield. Nelson Muntz, the elite elementary school football player in Springfield with a gain of 19. Her brothers playing quarterback. Bart and the Bengals take over at their own 14-yard line. Simpson is back to pass. Bart steps up in the pocket, throws on the run. It's complete to Lisa. They've got that connection. 16-yard gain, Simpson to Simpson. The ball's all the way out at the 40-yard line, so Bart will throw. It's Lisa, puts her foot in the ground, leaves her dad in the dust, and says, if anyone needs me, I'll be in the end zone. Touchdown, Cincinnati.
Oh, that is brilliant. And it's the same exact plays that were run in the game. I don't need to play the real highlight. You just get the whole gist of it right there. I thought that was extremely, extremely well done. Good stuff. Something that Major League Baseball needs to, get a grip and do something like this to get younger fans in. So hopefully everybody enjoyed that. And some of you say, that's too teeth. No, it's funny stuff. No question about it. Pretty good stuff there, Angel.
It is. It's the harder part is as the broadcaster for that one, because you got to figure out that, how to make the characters work with the actual players on the field. But I thought it was good. I liked the addition of Stephen A. Smith. I thought it was pretty good too.
Hysterical. All right, one more video before we go to break. It's right underneath the show, Angel, NFL on ESPN. Hank Azaria, I should say, who's one of the voices on The Simpsons, was on yesterday. On one of the programs, and he talks about how disappointing it is to be a Jets fan.
Hank, you grew up in Queens. You're a lifelong Jets fan. What have you made of their season?
Oh, for Jet fans, this is a great season for Jet fans. Look, let me go positive here, okay?
I like it.
Yeah, it's not easy. I had to give this some thought. Every year, the Jets figure out a new way to break our hearts. It's never the same thing twice. You never know what you're going to get. Life is truly like a box of awful chocolates season after season. So, yeah, this one maybe was even more disappointing than some others, but that's the life of it. Jets, Mets, Knicks. That's me. Grew up in Queens. People ask me, why do you... Here's the best way I can sum it up. My son's 15, okay? And I'm watching the Jets. I usually watch from the elliptical or the treadmill because I need to be in motion to sort of, work out what I'm going through. And I often scream expletives at the television. And my son came in and very earnestly said, Dad, I understand you watching the Jets, but why do you have hope? Absolutely crushing.
There is no hope. There absolutely is no hope at all for the pathetic New York Jets, who are tied with the Patriots at 3-10. Technically, the Patriots are in last place, even though it's because of they're both tied with the division record, but because the Jets have a less pathetic conference record at 3-6, and the Patriots are 2-7. That is why the Jets remain just a tad above the Patriots. They are a negative 49-point differential. Miami, by the way, is negative 28 at 6-7. The Patriots are a negative 86, trying to snap that 3-game losing streak on the road in Arizona on Sunday. All right. Angel has a very important meeting to get to, so we'll let him get to it. You're going to handle this break, though, right? And then you're going to take off?
See.
Okay, thank you. All right, it is the Pete Sheppard Show. More NFL, college football news coming up, NBA, NHL rundown as well. Coming up at the bottom of next hour, Bill Sparrows from the Boston Herald and bookies.com, senior betting analyst. We'll get to him and get his thoughts on how the Red Sox, he and I agreed for like a month, there was no way in hell they were going to get Juan Soto. We'll get to that. And we'll tell you why. John Heyman had an interesting theory, which I will play the audio. You don't need to see the video, but I will play the audio for you. He had some information as to why Juan Soto chose the Mets over the Yankees. It might surprise you. Coming up next, it's all part of the Pete Sheppard Show here on a Tuesday on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jim and the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu. Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it gardenia. It's pronounced Chardonnay.
Hey everybody, it's Pete Sheppard from the Coastal Sports Network. Want to tell you about my good friend Lou DiMuzio and his company. Lou is the president and founder of Ace Technology Advisors. They're big-time tech specialists. At ATA, they're able to craft, implement, and manage the best and most appropriate solution for your business. They leverage their industry-leading experience and their portfolio of technology partners to improve your best practices and infrastructure. So you can get a hold of them at 888-599-4223. That's 888-599-4223. Check them out on their webpage, www.acetechadvisors.com. That's www.acetechadvisors.com. Or you can email them, sales@acetechadvisors.com. Check out my friend Lou DiMuzio and Ace Technology Advisors.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And, with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have any body to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. I know you won't, because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick, and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Don't spaz out because your team lost. Let Pete do it for you. Now, back to the Pete Sheppard Show.
Right about now, you're about to be possessed.
A minute 10 left. Burrow, sideline, Chase, spin. There he goes. Jamar Chase. Not yet. Touchdown, bang.
Yeah. Bengals win. Bengals win. Dallas screws up a punt. Takes more than 2 to screw up a punt. Just takes 1. Amani Oruwariye was the one last night. The culprit gets Leon Lett off the hook. And from 1993, touched a blocked punt that they shouldn't have touched. Cincinnati gets control on their own 43, and that ended up being the game-winning touchdown pass right there as the Bengals go on to beat the Dallas Cowboys at Jerry's World 27-20. And good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Pete Sheppard Show here on the Coastal Sports Network. Angel Martinez has departed. Big important meeting coming up today. Now I have to get ready for set the break up for next hour, just to make sure. There we go. All set. Bill Sparrows will join me from the Boston Herald and Bookies.com at the bottom of the hour, and at 9:30 this morning, Kevin McNamara will join me. Major college men's college basketball insider, has a show on WPRO in Providence as well. He will join me at 9:30. First time all year. Kevin, one of the best in the business. Thanks for checking us out across the video platform here on the Coastal Sports Network. Following me at PShep326 on Twitter, X, Facebook, SR1029 The Game, SR1029thegame.com. That's the best way to get us if you're in your car or you can't watch the video. Go to SR1029 The Game. Ion TV, CSN Florida, Rumble, Kick, LinkedIn, Spotify, Twitch, YouTube. Call or text the show 727-858-6650. Joey Burrow, 33 of 44, 369 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick last night in the Cincinnati win. And after the game, he talked about being aggressive.
For you guys to win is with you throwing the ball, but do you feel like, that's going to be able to be sustainable for you to not take so many hits moving forward?
I think so. I mean, that's how we play right now. That's how I like to play. Put it in my hands, I'll be able to make a play. I thought we ran it well tonight. I think Chase is really emerging as a top back. He's doing unbelievable stuff in the run game and the pass game. So his role is going to continue to evolve. We're going to keep getting him the ball more and in a lot of different ways. So I'm happy with how our offense is playing. We left some on the field tonight, but made the plays to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, he was very good last night. And Jamar Chase was outstanding, 170 yards and 2 touchdowns for Jamar Chase.
I do think about it sometimes. It runs my mind. That actually ran my mind. He asked me what I was thinking about before the toss, and when I was sitting down, that actually ran across my brain. But I try not to think too much of it. That's really out of my control. I wish I could sign T myself and have him with me, for eternity. But some things don't work that way.
Yeah, that was Jamar Chase on T. Higgins. But Jamar Chase also last night being able to finish the game.
If we want to finish, that's exactly how we need to finish. That's a perfect example of finishing. Even though the kick got blocked, we got to start there first to fix those. But, we get another opportunity with the offense. We got to take advantage and finish it like we did.
Mike McCarthy on the block punt. What happened?
Coach, the block punt and the play by Rory, can you go through that? And obviously, you guys have gone over the situation and special team meetings. Just talk about what happened and what he was thinking.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we actually had a return called. The tackle released. The guard went down. The big gap was exposed. Nick took it. And then we were, able to get the block. AO was in a vice situation. And then, he heard the roar of the crowd. And when he turned, he understands the role, of crossing. Once the ball crosses the line, his response was when he turned, when he heard the crowd, the ball was there and he reacted to it. So obviously a big play in the game.
All right. Micah Parsons post-game comments as well.
I'm hurt. Man, I won't wish this on anybody. Man, you can't even put that in words, bro.
Can't put,
to be honest.
Can't put in words. He's thinking my special teams guy sucks. That's what he's thinking.
I wasn't even really grasping what was going on. Nick made a great play, and then I asked the ref, explain what happened. He told me that we touched the ball. It was definitely a huge momentum shift. We just caught a huge stop we're going to 2-minute drill. It's just real hard to you think to believe you can pull that game out from that situation. That hurts.
Yeah, that hurts. Micah Parsons, yes, it does hurt. How about Jerry Jones after the loss?
Okay. Jerry, how much emotional whiplash is there going from the blocked punt to having that Aurorier play?
Well, the odds are the coach said we made the play and blocked the punt, but then we had a 1 and X happen when after blocking the punt we touched the ball. That's all should be figured in before you decide to block the punt. Especially you weigh your odds up against catching the ball on a kick and getting it back out and getting within a field goal range. So that's all there is said about it. We can all second guess that. But we would say that you probably had better odds of kicking free and driving down and kicking a field goal, but you got the kicking game involved if we'd have kicked a field goal.
Right? If we kicked the field goal, we would have won. If we didn't kick the field goal, beep, Dallas loses again at home. It's really that simple. Thanks for checking us out here at the Pete Sheppard Show on the Coastal Sports Network. The other, by the way, with 4 weeks left in the NFL's regular season draft, Phil Yates just tweeted this out. The current 2025 draft order as we speak, from 10 to 1, number 10 is the Saints. Number 9 is the Chicago Bears. Number 8 is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Number 7 is the Tennessee Titans. Number 6 is the New York Jets. Number 5, the Cleveland Browns. Number 4, the Carolina Panthers. Number 3, the New England Patriots. Number 2, the Las Vegas Raiders. And the team that would have the number 1 draft pick overall right now, if the season ended today, would be the New York Football Giants. New York Football Giants. Meanwhile, the story that we talked about at the top of the hour, the real big story in the NFL is not really the Dallas-Cincinnati game with two teams that are not going anywhere in the playoffs last night. The real story happened yesterday on WIP radio in Philadelphia, where star defensive end Brandon Graham went on the air with the hosts and really talked about the drama between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts.
The person that's complaining need to be accountable. And I'm just being honest. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he know this. I don't know the whole story, but I know that one is trying. And I mean, 11 could be a little better with how he responds to things. And they was friends before this. It's like, man, but things have changed. And I understand that because life happens. But it's the business side that we have to make sure that we don't let the personal get in the way of the business. And that's what we got to do better as right now, because we know it's an issue. Everybody's seeing some things, but we need to be able to talk things out as men. You know what I'm saying? But we need to let personal stuff go and let's get right for this game, because, man, it's like a lot of stuff, most of the time, it's just a conversation that just need to be had. But the person with the problem got to want to talk to the person other than others. Okay. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, some very strong comments there by Brandon Graham, and wow, I mean, that's those comments can carry a sports radio station for the rest of the year, no matter what happens with the Eagles. And it's really, really interesting that a couple things. First, he backtracked to ESPN. That was on 94 WIP yesterday in Philly. Yesterday, though, he backtracked also to ESPN. Quote, "I made a mistake and I assumed that it was something that it wasn't. I just want to win so bad that I don't just want to use the media when we need to talk about something and we can fix the problem ourselves. I didn't add to it in a good light, so that's my bad. I just assumed that it made me out to look even worse because I had it all wrong, and now people are going to run with that part. I really just wanted to win, man, and I want brothers to be able to just hash it out." You can try to backtrack all you want. I don't even call it damage, but the cat is clearly out of the bag here, to use an old cliche. There's no question about it. You can say you just want to win. You assumed you had it all wrong. There's no question you didn't have it all wrong. You had it all right. All you got to do is go back and watch how Jalen Hurts did not want to give A.J. Brown the ball in that game against Carolina. As I said last hour, initially, I don't care about the sexiness of wins for any team in the NFL. I think fans get carried away with that stuff. As you heard the video earlier that Angel played of the Eagles fans leaving the link because they didn't clobber the Carolina Panthers. Probably a lot of people lost some shekels because they laid the 12.5. But look at how Carolina's been playing. They nearly beat Kansas City, the Bears. I mean, they've had some pretty good games. They're playing hard. They're NFL players too. They're playing tough. So I wouldn't get caught up in that. However, the more disturbing part of this story is what's quote personal. Now I found out that Jalen Hurts is a godfather to A.J. Brown's kid, which I did not know. But whatever this personal situation is going on, and I don't know if it's family related in any way, shape, or form or what, but they need to hash it out. And Nick Sirianni absolutely needs to hash this out now. He's got to get this guy, he's got to get a grasp on this situation. Put him in a room together with the three of them and hash it out. Put them together in a padded room, have them go toe to toe. Whatever it takes, they have got to get this. They got to clear the air here before their game against Pittsburgh at home on Sunday, because if they lay an egg in that game or show any signs of disconnect, man, oh man, the Sirianni on the hot seat talks are going to start up again. People are going to start going, woe is me. Here it is, just like last year, with 5 or 6 games left. What are we doing? Where are we? We're falling apart at the seams once again. And you don't want to have. They've had some good momentum winning 9 in a row. You don't want the Eagles to fall back into what they were at the end of last season, and then they got smoked in the playoffs by Tampa Bay. You do not want that. So any thoughts on that? I'd love to hear you guys at 727-858-6650. If you want to text in. Angel's not here, so I can't pick up the phone. So Angel's not here. But if you want to, most of the texts I can see. All right, meanwhile, the Heisman Trophy finalists were named last night. The U's, Cam Ward, along with Oregon's Dylan Gabriel, Colorado's Travis Hunter, who's more than likely going to win it, and Boise State, Ashton Jeanty the great running back there. And Feinbaum, once again, yesterday sort of dismissed it like this guy's some ordinary player. I mean, people are out of your mind. The SEC network has gotten so ridiculous, over the top. And I respect a lot of the people that work there, the teams and all that stuff. This, as I keep saying, this be-all, end-all thing. Like Ashton Jeanty, here's what Feinbaum said yesterday. I don't know if he would have put up those kind of numbers in the SEC. He said, quote, maybe he would have had 1,000 yards. This kid's going to be a first-round pick, Ashton Jeanty. He is an excellent running back, and because Feinbaum and others don't think he plays in the SEC, he doesn't think he would put up the kind of numbers. I'm telling you, I hope Boise State, whoever they end up playing, the first or second, was going to be the winner of Tennessee. I'll get to that in a second. Let me just Ashton Jeanty anyway made an appearance last night on ESPN.
Come in, Boise State star running back Ashton Jeanty. Ashton, good to have you here on SportsCenter with us. You were watching Monday Night Countdown a few minutes ago when your name was called as one of the Heisman finalists. What was that moment like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I was feeling a little nervous, a little bit of butterflies in my stomach, but it's just amazing to, have this opportunity and, for my name to be mentioned with all these other great players in the nation.
And you saw this coming, Ashton, because back in March in an interview with Pro Football Focus, you predicted that you were going to be in New York for the Heisman Trophy ceremony. How did you know?
I just knew from all the hard work that I've put in, all the great teammates that I have around me, great coaching staff. I just knew my abilities and, I knew what I could do. And, I just brought that to life throughout this season and being one of the best players in the nation.
What would it mean for you to bring that trophy home? And, it's your trophy, but it's everyone's trophy.
Yeah, I mean, it would mean the world to me. I think not only just for myself, but, having this underdog story and, being at a group of 5 school and, it's kind of being overlooked. all the time. So I think it would be big, not just for me, but big for the community of Boise, all my teammates, this program. It would be tremendous.
Yeah, and not only that, not only are you a Heisman finalist, obviously your Boise State team is the number 3 seed in the playoff after winning the Mountain West Conference Championship. And you are at a school that is very proud of its football tradition. Can you give people around the country an understanding of what this accomplishment, making the playoff, means to you and your teammates?
Yeah, I mean, it's legendary. It's never been done in the history of this program. And I'm just so blessed to be a part of this team, the first team to do it. And obviously it isn't just me that, made this happen. It's, the staff, the players, the coaches, for all of us to come together and make history. I mean, it's amazing.
All right, there he is. Nice
What's the
gentleman.
significance to Boise State coming out?
All right, Ashton Jeanty right there with Boise State's outstanding running back, Heisman Trophy finalist, along with Cam Ward, quarterback for the Miami Hurricanes, Oregon quarterback Dylan Gabriel, and Colorado's two-way player extraordinaire Travis Hunter, who's absolutely going to win it. And I got no problem with that. Gabriel, by the way, well, if we get to they all have unbelievable numbers. Cam Ward leads the nation with a school record 36 passing touchdowns, 4,123 yards passing yards, 4,319 total yards, 343.6 passing yards per game, 41 touchdowns, ranked second. He led the highest scoring offense in the country in the Hurricanes, who got screwed out of the playoff. 44.2 points per game, becomes the first Miami quarterback to post 7 straight 300-yard games, and has 10 games with 300-plus yards and more touchdown passes. And the rest of the numbers, they're all very good. Travis Hunter, obviously, if you know him, the two-way player, go down as one of the great two-way players of all time in college football. There's no question about that. They're being compared to Charles Woodson with Michigan, the cornerback there back in '97, became the first Heisman winner who primarily played defense, which is outstanding. But, I mean, he's amazing. There's no question that he is amazing. Other college, quote, sort of football news, unquote. Last night on Sirius XM NFL Radio, Bill Belichick confirms he has had multiple conversations with North Carolina.
I've had some conversations with the chancellor at North Carolina, and so we'll see how that goes. We'll see how it goes.
I think it caught folks by surprise that college coaching might appeal to you. Can you explain your decision-making process and why that does appeal to you, if in fact that's the route you go?
Well, again, I have an open mind and have I think the college game is closer to the pro game than it's ever been with the new kind of landscape in college football. So, I've explored it, and we'll see how it works out.
I think it's widely assumed that you'd like to win another Super Bowl. And I think it's widely assumed that you'd like to break Don Shula's record. Is that, and are those two things in the forefront of your mind?
Yeah, Jim, I don't have any set goals. I'm open to different opportunities going forward, and I'll just evaluate them as they come.
All right, well, we will see, but things are heating up with Bill Belichick in North Carolina. You've also got the other side story that there's been several reports that Steve Belichick would take over as head coach of North Carolina. That's part of the condition if they hire Bill. However long he stays there, once he leaves, that his son Steve would be, who's the safeties coach for the Patriots right now, would take over as the head coach of the Tar Heels. So very interesting stuff. Other college football news before we get to Bill Spiros at the bottom of the hour. Marcus Freeman, head coach of Notre Dame, and how special it is to be hosting Indiana in the quarterfinals.
Notre Dame, Marcus, obviously one of the iconic venues that you're going to find in all of college football, and not eligible for the bye, but going to get the home game there, it's a very special environment. What is that going to mean, not only for the team, but also for the university and all of the Irish fans out there?
Yeah, to be a part of the first home playoff game ever at Notre Dame is it's going to be something special. I know the fans will be crazy. I know the environment's going to be crazy, and I hope it's as cold as it can be. Right, you got a little snow on the ground, and we're going to have to play our brand of football, man. Yeah, well, that's going to be even colder.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be special, Bobby. something that this place has been talking to. I've been trying to keep my earmuffs on and not worry about it. It's here. It's here now, and I bet you it's going to be a great opportunity for us.
All right, meanwhile, last cut today in college football, Georgia AD Josh Brooks believes the college football playoff should reward both SEC championship participants. Hey, Josh, why not just award the whole SEC? Just have the SEC and screw everybody else around the country. Right, Josh?
Yeah, first I'll go back to what Commissioner Sankey said. Not all conference games or championship games are the same, right? This is a different game, and I think just being honest and fair in what I feel with the SEC, I think the SEC champion should get the bye, and then I think the loser of the SEC championship game should be a guaranteed home slot in that 5 through 8. Because the last thing you want to go into that game is be ranked in that 5 through 8 slot, lose a game that comes down to the wire like it did Saturday night, and then that team have to go on the road, right, and then potentially play a team that had an extra 7 days off. Imagine had Texas fallen out of the top 8 and had to go on the road to an opponent that got to sit home and get healthy over 7 days. That's just not that's a tough pill to swallow. So I just think this game is very important. I love this game. I want to keep it important. So there's got to be some built-in rewards, and you don't want to see the team that loses this game get punished.
Would have been very interesting to see if Georgia Tech had pulled out that 8 overtime loss to Georgia, if you'd still had the same feelings. Interesting stuff. All right, I do want to tell everybody before we go to break, and Bill Sparrow's at the bottom of the hour, Phil Castanetti's Sports World in Saugus, Mass. is New England's place to buy or sell the finest in sports memorabilia. For over 35 years, Sports World has offered the finest in sports collectibles. They've recently had some great events over there with Tim Thomas and also PJ Stock. But you want to check out Phil Castanetti's Sports World, 184 Broadway in Saugus. Call 781-233-7222 for more information. That's 781-233-7222 for more information. Sports World in Saugus. Be there. Bill Sparrow's Boston Herald and senior betting analyst at bookies.com is next here on the Pete Sheppard Show on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jim and the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu. Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it gardenia. It's pronounced Chardonnay.
Hey everybody, it's Pete Sheppard from the Coastal Sports Network. Want to tell you about my good friend Lou DiMuzio and his company. Lou is the president and founder of Ace Technology Advisors. They're big-time tech specialists. At ATA, they're able to craft, implement, and manage the best and most appropriate solution for your business. They leverage their industry-leading experience and their portfolio of technology partners to improve your best practices and infrastructure. So you can get a hold of them at 888-599-4223. That's 888-599-4223. Check them out on their webpage, www.acetechadvisors.com. That's www.acetechadvisors.com. Or you can email them sales@acetechadvisors.com. Check out my friend Lou DiMuzio and Ace Technology Advisors.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous, as in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older
The Pete Sheppard Show. It's fun for the whole family, if it's dysfunctional.
Back here on the Pete Sheppard Show here on a Tuesday, December 10th, on the Coastal Sports Network, as I man the controls myself, and sorry for that little glitch right there, but what can you do? Banging on the drum all day, that's what Red Sox fans are doing, banging on their heads all day long. The suckers out there who actually thought Juan Soto had a chance to come, finally they're coming to live into the reality, and Bill Sparrows called this from the Boston Herald and bookies.com many moons ago, it seems, and I couldn't agree more. We'll talk about that and some other cool stuff going on in the world of sports and the gambling world as well, and an interesting story about Kylie Kelsey, who now has surpassed what Joe Rogan as the number one podcast in the nation so far. Good morning, William. How are you this morning?
Yeah, it's weird. I'm usually here on Wednesdays. I'm not sure how I got here today, but
well, because I have my biannual endocrinology appointment tomorrow that I cannot miss, and it is at 8:00 in the morning. And the traffic down here, even though it's only about 8 miles, will probably take me an hour to get to at that time in the morning. So I got to leave here about 7:00. So
that's like the new 8 Mile with all like the 80-year-olds. Well, yeah, that's the problem down there. You drive an 8 miles, everyone's going 27 miles an hour. You know, the line to get into Publix and if you get the senior coffee at McDonald's is probably 4 miles long.
Well, I don't have to drive in the morning. This is a rare exception. So I don't have to, between the schools and all that stuff, and I don't have to. And usually the traffic.
Oh, yeah, Eunice driving the school bus, you know, she hasn't cracked 25 miles an hour since the Eisenhower administration. So,
well, you can't. And then you got the families have to drop their kids off and wait in line and then go pick them up. And as soon as they drop them off, all they do is circle around to get back in line to pick them up because you need 5 hours advance to pick up your kids at school.
Yeah, God forbid Jimmy walk a half a mile.
Oh, can't have that. Jimmy walk a half a mile.
You might burn off a carb.
So many helicopter parents. Anyway, it is what it is. Anyway, good morning. You called this about the Juan Soto thing. I think it's hysterical. The Yankee fans are way more upset than Red Sox fans are. This came really down to about $5 or $6 million, it seems. I know the $800 million with the opt out or opt in, all that stuff. John Heyman had some. Did you hear the John Heyman comments, by the way, about the Juan Soto situation?
Yes.
All right. Can I just? It's only 30 seconds. Let me just play this for the audience first, and then react to it.
One little issue, and I asked Juan Soto about this after they lost the World Series. I took him aside and asked him. There was one little issue with the Yankees where a security guard booted either his mother or his father out of some area. And there were some negative feelings at that moment. Now, this, I think, is back in April or May. And the same guy did it to his driver and chef. The chef had to wait and driver had to wait out in the rain. And, I mean, Soto is a family guy. He was not too happy at the time. One little issue.
Yeah, I mean, really, I mean, the only, I mean, you know.
I have a big fucking problem. Yes, I do! Man, fuck me. This is wrong!
That's the only chef I know that's worthy of that. So, I mean, we're talking about chefs. We're talking about security people. I don't know. You buying any of this, Bill, at all? And John's come under some scrutiny lately as well, which I understand.
I think the way that he was treated by people on social media and that moron in New York was disgusting. I mean, here's a guy. I'm very critical of the press, certainly the non-sports media. And I've been critical of the sports media. I was a sports editor for 30 years.
Yep.
I don't need to bore you with all my former reporters that are
not boring me at all. People love this stuff.
National NFL writers. And I mean, I was Woj's boss. I was Sheppard's boss. So I thought the way that John Heyman was treated by a lot of people was despicable. I mean, this guy has done it, right? He has done it. He has, done the work. Look, I know what these guys do. I always tell the story about when I was Adam Schefter's editor in Denver. He covered the Denver Broncos Post. And again, this was the newspaper age, right? This was pre-computer, and he filed at least one story every single day. And I mean, when I say every single day, I mean every single day. He filed a story every single day from July 1st through 2 weeks after the Super Bowl. And then he finally took a couple of days off. And guys and John Heyman's the same kind of guy. These guys work their asses off. And then you have people on social media who just throw stuff up like, oh, yeah, I have a source. And no, you don't have anything. Okay. Yeah. There's a couple of idiots up in Boston that kept saying he was coming to Boston and I have this source and I have this. No, that's not journalism. That's not reporting. You're either making stuff up or, the whole reason why you have two independent sources is so that your chances of being correct go up like infinity. So John Heyman, he does his job. And there are a lot of people out there who don't do their jobs. And there are even more people out there who wish they had his job. But in order to have John Heyman's job, you have to put in 40 years in the most intense competitive media market on the planet, and you have to succeed. And too many critics of guys like him and even people who criticized Schefter and Woj before he moved on, they've never done shit.
Exactly.
We like to curse on this show, but they've never done shit. And so the fact that they've never done anything, they don't know what it takes to do something. They don't know what it takes to build a beat. They don't know what it takes to build contacts. They don't know what it takes to build
trust.
A network. That all requires work and effort. And I got to the point the other day where on social media, I think it's time for people to start posting W-2s. In other words, are you getting paid? I always give this definition of a professional, because I do mentor a lot of young people. And the first definition of a professional is someone who's getting paid. And that includes an internship because you're being paid with credits. But if you're not being paid for your work, either through subscribers, which is honorable nowadays because you can make money doing that, or actually having somebody pay you to do this, then you're not a journalist. You're not a professional. And so if someone is out there posting anonymously or pretending, if they're not working for anybody, if they're not making any money, if they don't have any subscribers, if no one's paying them to do this, then they're not professional. So I take what they say in that vein.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as I saw these idiots saying that Soto was coming to Boston, I almost at that moment knew he wasn't. Because if there was a legitimate chance that he was coming to the Red Sox, it would have been put out through people like Jeff Passan, John Heyman, or certainly, people at who cover the Red Sox.
Yeah, like my friend, like Buck or Sean McAdam, or people.
Yeah,
that
Sean McAdams.
I know
Sean McAdam.
I'm going to have Sean on Friday in Dallas. He's in Dallas at the winter meetings. I was going to have him on this morning, but he's all busy there. There's only a few people.
But Sean's a perfect example. He's like John Heyman, except in Boston, right?
Yep.
I mean, I'm sure their career paths are pretty much parallel time-wise. So that he's a perfect example for this audience. Someone like Sean McAdam, who's done the work, who's actually, worked phones and hung out in clubhouses and hung out in locker rooms and waited in parking lots to talk to people or stood out on the field for an hour to talk to someone. These people have actually done the work. And I understand and myself utilize it well, social media and all that. And I certainly respect someone like Shams, who's young. Mm-hmm. But even someone like that, he's done the work. I mean, and if you haven't done the work and if you're not putting your name on your work, that to me is the biggest red flag. If somebody is out there and they're not putting their name on their work, I give it zero credibility.
No, I'm with you. And, all the years working at WEI and stuff with Glenn on the big show. Yeah, I mean, we weren't a news breaking organization per se. A couple times, some of the guests we had on, because they were beat writers or around once, they had information that broke on our show. Some of the organizations that they worked for didn't really like it at first, but they realized, you're going to get credit. You're going to get credit either way. But just because you didn't break it on this TV station or this newspaper on this side, it is what it is. I can tell you, I mean, the only story that I can ever remember, there's two that I can remember I actually, quote unquote, broke. The first one when I was in Aruba and I bumped into on vacation Alex Cora's first cousin, who just got back from the Caribbean World Series, and he told me that Alex was 100% absolutely going to the Red Sox. Doesn't seem like a big story now, but it was a pretty big story back then. So I called into the station and I told them, and they double-checked that and found out it was, and I get credit. And the other time was when Doug Flutie came back to the Patriots for the second time, and that's only because I knew Kristen Kaliga, his agent, and I texted her. She can absolutely confirm it. So we had it about 10 minutes before everybody else did. Lottie freaking da, whoop-de-doo, congratulations to me. But so I completely appreciate the Sean McAdam, Bucks, Passons, the Heymans of the world, and a lot of others that I'm forgetting, because they're all so good at what they do. These guys sleep with their phones. They're in the shower with their phones. They're all over the place. And
Schefter will tell you. I mean, when he started working with me, he had just gotten divorced, and he was on like 24 at the time, because his job cost him his first marriage.
Who's hasn't in this business? That's the thing.
Because he was working all the time.
Yep,
and
I'm with them.
He was not going to give that up. So again.
That's how my first marriage failed, to tell you that. And then I was young at the time. I was exactly around that, 23, 24 years old. I was working 7 days a week, driving about an hour and 40 minutes or an hour and a half, it seemed, into Boston every day from north central Massachusetts. And then finally I moved to the city. And but it took its toll.
And again, so for people to, I mean, look, if you get a story wrong, that's one thing, but this just general attitude out there among people that have never done anything. And it's look, it's okay to be critical, but then when you try to do what they do and you're sort of pretending to do it, that's really what gets me is people pretending to do what these people do. And obviously they certainly had no idea what they were talking about here in this Juan Soto case, for a lot of reasons. Number one, they were wrong. Number two, the Red Sox were never going to outbid Steve Cohen. Number three, the Red Sox were never the Red Sox. this was one of these things where you sort of like pretended to fight. Like it was like,
Yeah.
Here's a perfect analogy. The Red
Participation
Sox,
trophy.
well, yeah. We look. I broke the. Speaking of breaking news, I broke the news yesterday. They're gonna hand out the Juan Soto participation trophy at 1:38 on opening day. I broke.
But
that
there
news.
are people out there that will buy that crap. They actually now. Do you believe that the $700 million offer at least?
Well, my whole point, Pete. It was like
Yeah.
think of the Red Sox chasing Juan Soto like the Tyson Paul fight. It
Yeah.
was like a fight, but was it a fight?
No.
No, because they were never going to beat the hell out of each other, right? And the Red Sox were never going to sign Juan Soto. It doesn't matter if they offered him $9 quadrillion because they always knew Steve Cohen was going to offer more. So the Red Sox did this entire charade, and it was a charade. It was a publicity stunt for just the reason that we're seeing manifest itself like, gee, they did a good job. They really tried. Mitt Romney tried. Kamala Harris tried, right? It doesn't
Do
matter.
or do not. There is no try.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Yoda.
Okay? You don't get credit for trying. After the age of 6, you no longer get credit for trying in life, no matter what you do. Like if you're in sales, has anyone in sales ever got credit for trying? But
No.
not closing the
Either
deal?
close the deal or not.
How about when you apply for a job? You apply for a job and you don't get the job, but does the company say, you know what, you really tried hard to get this job, so we're going to give you like 2 weeks vacation even though we didn't hire you? No, you get nothing. It's all or nothing. That's life. And the Red Sox were never going to sign this guy, no matter how the money is the least relevant part of this discussion. Because if the Red Sox have a pattern that sort of this manifested it, right? Let's go back to Mookie Betts.
Yes.
Ahead of the 2019 season, had the Red Sox offered Mookie Betts $30 million for 10 years, he would have signed. They didn't. What does he do? A year later, he goes to the Dodgers and he signs a 10-year, $333 million deal.
Peanuts now.
But what is my point? The Red Sox were 1 year behind. Xander Bogaerts. The Red Sox didn't want to sign Xander Bogaerts because if his extension would have pushed him into the mid-30s, right? Of course, then all of a sudden, what did they do yesterday? They were willing to offer a guy a contract that would have carried him until he was like 40. At not even the same position as a freaking DH.
Here's what I don't understand, Bill, and this is why the entire philosophy has changed. And I remember, doing the shows back, in the Big Show and everything else, and Dustin Pedroia gets Rookie of the Year, then MVP. The Red Sox at that time, I think Theo was still there. They did the smart thing, right? Remember, they locked up Pedroia at the time. I think it was for $7 million a year for like 7 years, and some people were up in arms over that. I was like, look, this is a smart thing to do, and somehow they have abandoned that philosophy. And I had to shut my door. I have a new couch coming in. Excuse me 1 second. But you know what I'm saying? What happened to that philosophy? Where did it go? And how did it go?
I think the philosophy went to the accounting office at Fenway Sports Group, and the philosophy is they realize, and I've mapped this out in the past, they can make just as much money, if not more, by spending a lot less. And my final point from earlier with Betts and Bogaerts, and last year Shohei Ohtani, right? Mm-hmm. What happened with Shohei Ohtani? Everybody said, oh my God, $700 million. That's an insane contract. But a year later, the Red Sox allegedly offered that amount of money to Juan Soto and finished third, if we're to believe what we're being told. Now, imagine if the Red Sox had offered Shohei Ohtani $700 million a year ago. He'd be playing for the Red Sox because of his tie-ins with New Balance. Mm-hmm. So the Red Sox, you have 3 guys.
Now, how do you not factor that in? How can they? These are allegedly smart business people, Bill. How do you not factor that stuff in?
Well, no. The whole point, Pete. Again, the whole point is to make money, right?
Yeah.
And the math doesn't work. You're signing Shohei Ohtani or Juan Soto for $700 or $800 million. The math doesn't work. You're never going to make that money back. But Steve Cohen doesn't care. People don't realize about Steve Cohen, and he is. I mean, his net worth is 3.5 times John Henry. Did you know that Steve Cohen once paid $1.8 billion in fines and penalties to the Security Exchange Commission for insider trading?
I did see that.
He
Yes.
took the deal. So the whole point is this guy spent 2.5 times more money than he's given to Juan Soto just in penalties to the SEC for insider trading. And if his penalty was $1.8 billion, that ought to tell you how much the guy really made. So here's a guy who's willing to spend 10x what the current Red Sox payroll is, just in fines and penalties to the Security Exchange Commission. That shows you that the Red Sox, when you don't have the will and you don't have the means, you have no shot. They Red Sox obviously don't have the will. Again, I can give you four concrete examples: Mookie Betts, Xander Bogaerts, Shohei Ohtani, and Juan Soto, where you had the marquee person, the most important person in that moment for them, where they failed to show up or were a year behind the curve in the market value. And a year from now or 2 years from now, and I don't even know who the player is going to be, in a year or two, someone is going to sign a $1 billion.
Absolutely. I brought that
and
up.
then people, and I'm sorry, I'm so sick and tired of, is anybody worth this amount? That's not the question.
What the market will pay. It's what the market
exactly. Will pay. They're worth what the market will pay. And it's not a financial decision. Mm-hmm. That's the whole point here. Steve Cohen is not making financial decisions. He's making decisions of how much can I spend to put the best possible team that's going to give me the best possible chance to win, even though it's the Mets. And so the Red Sox, they take finances into all of these decisions, and you cannot do that. Would you have two teams in the market, the Dodgers and the Mets, who do not take financing into decision, who are willing to pay whatever the penalty is, or willing to give up whatever phony baloney crapola draft picks? They don't care. Their job is to put the best team on the field in that moment, and don't worry about it. And we've seen this with the Celtics, right? The Celtics are the Dodgers of the NBA.
Yeah.
Or the Mets of the NBA. The Celtics
you sign 11 of your top players from the year before. That is exactly what you said.
And the next person who buys a team is going to lose $500 million right off the bat. So the Celtics, or Irv is. I mean, Wick was playing with Irv's money. I think we finally figured that one out. Wick had no problem spending his old man's money and building a Celtics team that Dan Shaughnessy said could be their best one ever. So, that's great as a fan. The other thing that kills me is, oh my God, why do people care about John Henry's money so much? John Henry thinks so little of the Red Sox fan base. He thinks so little of them. He holds them in such disdain and contempt that he won't even give them a half an hour or an hour of his time. Here's a guy who flies back and forth to Saudi Arabia 50 times a week to save golf. But he won't give the Red Sox fans, the poor suckers and losers who keep buying tickets, who keep buying into the third wild card, who keep kissing Wally's ass, who want their kids to marry Tessie. He doesn't give them freaking 30 minutes of his time.
Not
an arrogant prick.
Yeah, and the flagship station, and I remember when, we signed a deal. Glenn and I were so ridiculously against it. EEI paid the Red Sox $20 million for 10 years, $200 million. That was more. Talk about outbidding the Yankees. That's one time where the Red Sox outbid the Yankees. And was it worth it? No. Did we need to survive without them? We could have survived easily without them back then. But anyway, what's done was done. They were never, ever going to make that money back. But now, next year, since they don't have a flagship, they're going into whatever is happening out there, the nexus of digital radio to whatever it is. The Red Sox do not have a home, as far as I know, for a flagship for next season. So maybe John Henry, that's what he wanted all along, but he's going to find out very quickly that people, if they haven't already turned on him, they're going to become irrelevant. And for a Red Sox team to become irrelevant, it's so sad and it's disgusting to me that he just doesn't give a shit. It just seems and I know sometimes the phrase perception is reality is overused. but not in this case. And how he can't come on, at least now EI is still the flagship station for the Red Sox, and just say anything. It's fucking cowardly, Bill. It's cowardly, in my opinion, what he's doing.
Yeah, and they announced yesterday that they're having their little fan fest in January 11th.
Is he going to be there? He wasn't at the last one.
Look, that is the question. That is the question. And
I don't need Sam Kennedy explanations again or him. He's a great guy. I love Sam. I don't need him trying to cover up for the rest of this organization. We need the owner out in front.
The Red Sox are at the point right now, especially after this whole Juan Soto fiasco, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, I think they're really, they've set themselves up. And look, I mean, they have legitimate needs. They need a right-handed power hitter. They need 2 starting pitchers. Okay, they presumably got their closer, although he hasn't signed yet. So they do have like legitimate needs to fill. And I'm not going to give them credit for replacing one potentially decent starting pitcher with another. I mean, if they go out and get the pitchers at their target, Corbin Burns and whoever else, I mean, that's okay, but that's not. That's just like meeting the basic.
They need 4 of those. They're about 4 players away, 2 pitchers and 2 offensive players away for being back in the mix as legit.
Yeah, it's like an 85. It's like an 85 to 90 win team. So, what people need to realize is that the Red Sox, they managed to win 81 games this year, because they knew I had 80 and a half as the total. So they had to jab me. They jabbed me on that one. It's jab. Yeah.
It's personal.
It was. I took that victory very personally. And it's so they've gone. People need to understand that they've gone down right now. They lost Tyler O'Neill. They lost Nick Pivetta. They've regressed. So they need to like add stuff just to get back here. I mean, Juan Soto would have put them up here, but they're here right now. They were here at the end of the season. They're here now. So they need to get stuff to get here. Never mind get up here. Getting one starting pitcher and another hitter is going to just put them back to level. So I understand it's early in the process, but they've regressed. I'm not so sure why they were so anxious to get rid of Tyler O'Neill. It's the same way they got rid of Justin Turner. I don't understand why they have a good right-handed guy who hits with power. They don't, the whole freaking lineup used to be right-handed power hitters. So I don't understand that. I guess there's some method to that. And I guess their argument is that, our farm system is so good that these kids are going to be so good that eventually, we're going to be good. And that's okay. See, look, what I would love more than anything is if John Henry took the stage or sat in a press conference and took questions from the press, fans called in. What John Henry ought to say is, look, listen, you peasants, you scum. All right. Listen, scum. I bought this team 20 odd years ago. We've won 4 World Series titles. I've turned Fenway Park into this great place to go. I gave you all these wonderful memories so your dead parents and grandparents could rest in peace. So here's the deal. We're going to spend X amount of money every year, win, lose, or draw. If we win, great. If we lose, so be it. But we're not going to be the team that we used to be because I'm sick of paying for it. I got your 4 rings. Kiss my ass. I'm out. If he just said that, I'd be fine with it. But the problem is they sell
the team.
Well, but he's not going to sell the team because they're making money, Pete.
I know. That's what I mean. But he would have made more money. He wouldn't have made it back with Shohei Ohtani. But my God, can you imagine the merchandising?
Well, I would say
all that other stuff. I mean,
I would say he's the guy. He was the guy that if you spent $700 million on him and given his tie-in with New Balance, that's the guy who could have made you the money back. Juan Soto is not going to make that money back.
No.
He's not. What the other thing people forget about Juan Soto is he got a World Series ring when he was 19 years old. So he's going to be chasing money the rest of his career. He doesn't care. That's why he signed with the Mets. People he doesn't want to. He's already won. He already has a World Series ring, people. He's already won. So that doesn't matter to him.
But
and getting to your earlier point about the personal slight, I think that stuff does matter. I think personal slights, when everything else is being equal. I go back to the Red Sox taking Mookie Betts to arbitration before the 2018 season. That was a catastrophic mistake.
Yep.
Over $2 million. I said it at the time. I had the baseball nerds going, no, that should be why. The WAR average.
WAR average, yeah. WAR this.
So that poisoned the well. So and I don't doubt what John Heyman's reporting, but that kind of stuff does matter to people, especially if you're a young, pampered athlete where you have your own chef. I mean, my God, it's not like his chef, like he has a chef. Like, does this guy has a chef that goes with him to the ballpark?
Mm-hmm.
Of course he's going to be pissed off if somebody gives his chef a problem.
Or one of his family members.
Chef.
Yeah, exactly. Or one of his family members, more importantly. That's certainly, if you believe what John Heyman said. And I have no reason not to discount his sources at all. But it does make it. And we can go back even further with the Red Sox. That's what I was thinking, because somebody asked me, a neighbor of mine asked me, he goes, what do you think? I said, they got no chance. It's going to be the Mets or the Yankees. I said, it's probably the Mets. And this was a couple of days ago, or 3 days. It was on Sunday, actually, when I was walking Luna, my dog. And but we can go back. How many times? And we used to poo-poo it sometimes in the media. Oh, he's just being foo-fooey. How many times have we had Red Sox players in the past, for the last 40 years, say something that the Red Sox did that was personally sort of, to use a black better, or offensive to them, or that's the reason why they wanted to leave, or nobody wanted to play here. And there was a reason for that about the Red Sox for many, many years, besides Bill Campbell. They hadn't signed a free agent before that until Manny Ramirez. Yeah. So I think there was something to that, some of it, with old ownership.
Of course, you had the whole race issue, but I think that's been muted, at least from the players' perspective. But yeah, but these little things do matter in life, right? I mean, World War I started because somebody shot somebody. The smallest of slights often trigger the most personal, and because you could say, okay, we can only pay you $650 million, we can't go to 700. Okay, that's business. But if you say, I'll go to 700, but your wife can't come into the room, then it's like, F you, I'm out.
Yeah.
So it's always the personal stuff that matters. All of that stuff matters in life, and certainly in this case. And I just, again, I'm still stuck on his chef thing. His chef like. It's like, Aaron Judge is eating Yankee dogs and freaking, Mantle burgers.
Yeah.
And Juan Soto's chef is coming in with like the freaking Tom Brady.
Tofu, fried tofu.
Yeah, like the Tom Brady Himalayan pink salt and kale stew.
But now let's get to the state of Major League Baseball here with this unbelievable contract. And I said it a couple of days earlier, too. It's going to be $1 billion. It's coming. And I think it's going to take a long time before the Players Association agrees to any type of salary cap, in my opinion. But inevitably, Bill, I think there's got to be at least some movement to try to get something in place here. Some semblance of something. This is becoming ridiculously out of control. It's the only one of the four majors now that doesn't have a salary cap. I mean, where is it going to end? And I'm not saying you let some of these other owners off the hook in some of these cities, because they've had the money to spend, maybe not $700 million, but they've had a lot of money to spend, and they don't spend it. Baltimore went through this, and some other teams until recently. But I do think eventually we are going to need some semblance of some sort of salary cap here. Otherwise, this sport is freaking doomed. It's already in bad shape, whether people want to admit it or not, outside of the major, northeast cities in Los Angeles. What are your thoughts about how you see this league developing on the horizon? And, when is enough ever going to be enough?
Well, it's, to me, it's always about the players union, because at the end of the day, they have the most important asset, being the players. The players are the most important asset in any sport. And unfortunately, the NFLPA has a history of being run by morons. So they have no trouble pissing away their advantages in every negotiation. I think you're going to start to see that change in the NFL now, where you're going to have a lot of former players that are really smart take over that organization. You'll see changes in the next CBA, where I think the commissioner is going to lose some of his dictatorial powers. I think the issue in baseball, the thing in baseball is if the revenue is the same. In other words, if you take all the money that the owners are spending on players, and you say that's figure X, or it's $100. If in any new system that you create from the player's perspective, that $100 can't go down. It can always go up, but it can't go down. So you can do a salary, you can do a hard cap and a hard floor, which is kind of what the NFL sort of does. I think that's really the only way to go to keep it sustainable, is to have a hard cap and a hard floor, and maybe even add another position. If you can tell a union, we're going to add 25 more jobs every year, or 30, how many teams are 30 more jobs. There's ways to do that. The issue then becomes, do the Steve Cohens of the world and whomever is running the Dodgers, would those guys agree to that? Yeah, well, he's.
I know. I'm just
Andrew Friedman, I guess, is who it is.
But to your bigger point, though, like the Billy Bean Moneyball era back when he was so successful, and it's just a miracle he did what he did back then. He couldn't incorporate that philosophy now in this day and age. He couldn't do it. It would be almost nearly impossible. You can put some of those facets of his philosophy in, but you need the Cohens of the world to, and maybe not so much. You need guys of that ilk to be able to make it happen. He couldn't go in with an owner right now in this day and age in 2024 like he did back then with the A's and do Moneyball stuff. It'd be impossible.
Yeah, and plus everybody's into analytics now. So there's no more value in that because everybody's doing it. When he did it, no one else was doing it. So that was the whole reason why they were successful. Nowadays, everybody does it. So if everybody has the same system, it's really not a system. The issue with the way the biggest problem with baseball right now is that once upon a time, John Henry was Steve Cohen. And what happens is human nature. I think if the Mets ever win a World Series, Steve Cohen will probably get bored and move on. That's literally what Linda Pizzuti said about her husband in that Financial Times story from last year. I'm never going to forget that. I forgot the exact word, but the implication was that he just sort of gets bored with things and moves on. And, that begs the question, when is he ready for wife number 4? So I think Linda might have been, sort of unwittingly like heralding her own demise with that remark. But these guys build things and they become successful and they want to move on and build other things. And that's John Henry's argument right there. Eventually that'll be Steve Cohen's argument. The Dodgers, maybe they want to be like the 1920s or 1960s Yankees and just like go on a rampage and win 8 World Series in 10 years or something. They might want to do that. That's kind of where they appear to be headed. So, in order to save baseball, like you said, you just have to find a way to distribute the revenue to where you can have more than 1 or 2 teams that can be competitive for top talent. The NFL has done it. They have a pretty good model. The teams make a lot of money. I would kind of think that's where it's headed. The baseball players already have guaranteed contracts. The players union has a lot already on its side. I don't think they'd be cutting their own throats to agree to a salary cap. Maybe now, because you've seen remember the magic number used to be 300 million, then it was 400 million, then it skipped. It skipped from 400 million to 700 million. Now it's 800 million with bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
So, nothing is sustainable for sure. But maybe now that number's gone up so high, this might be the time for, and I don't know offhand when the CBA expires, but whenever the next CBA comes up, I guarantee you that's going to be a discussion. That will be the whole issue. Can we restructure this to where it's sustainable, but everybody makes a lot of money?
But like you said, the Players Association, I'm sure, is going to put up a big fight initially, and then you have to worry. You have to worry. Hopefully, you hope cooler heads prevail, and everybody becomes somewhat agreeable that everybody's going to make a whole lot of money. I mean, it's just may not be $1 billion, but you may make 600 million or something like that. I don't know. There's got to be some kind of an agreement or some kind of give and take here, and the baseball players are going to pick up the biggest fight ever, I think.
Well, again, I think at the end of the day, when you're in, you're in a negotiation, it's like an election. It doesn't matter what you say until the election's over. Then it's like whatever. We're all buddies again. It's the same thing with any negotiation. People are gonna raise hell. They're gonna yell back and forth. But I'm sure there'll be people in the room on both sides that know what's gonna work and what isn't. And like I said, I think the NFL's got it down pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
No system is perfect. I mean, maybe hockey. You could look at hockey.
Yep.
They have a really hard cap and a really hard floor. Mm-hmm. That's gonna have to be the way it is. And frankly, I think in about a year or two, you're going to have guys like Steinbrenner and John Henry saying, we got to do this. And that's going to change the dynamic because, up until like this year or last year, those guys were on the Steve Cohen Dodgers camp. Now you're down to 2 teams. I mean, you have to think about it. You're down to 2 teams that are going to spend when no one else is going to spend, kind of like the Red Sox and Yankees were 20 years ago. And now with the numbers being as high as they are, I'm not so sure that the rest of the owners, want to be perennial also-rans. So again, it's all about votes. It's all about, getting enough owners to back a change, getting enough players to back a change. But, there'll be a time for that. Whenever, again, people always seem to forget, like we talked about last week, there's a collective bargaining agreement in place that allows Aroldis Chapman to pitch. There's a collective bargaining agreement in place that allows Julius Peppers to play for the Patriots. These are heavily unionized industries. And, people always tend to forget that. And you really can't. When I was an NFL editor among many jobs in Denver and in Orlando, and I had a copy of the CBA on my desk before we had computers. Mm-hmm. And I always made sure I had a copy of the CBA on my desk just for reference. So that stuff matters in terms of people saying, "Oh my God, this money's too much." Well, how do you fix that? You fix it the next time you have a collective bargaining negotiation. That's how it's done.
Bill Sparrows from the Boston Herald and bookies.com, senior betting analyst. A couple of things before we let you go, and thanks for taking some time today. I know we usually have a half-hour interview. It's gone over, but that's okay. Kevin McNamara, my buddy, at the bottom of the hour. Nobody better about insider for college hoops than him. One of my favorite people, as you are. I think you had a great response to Adam Levitan about frequency of sports books ads out of control. I think you nailed it. Talk about hypocrites. Talk about a hypocritical statement and article. You got to be kidding me, as you brought up the fact. Why don't you tell people exactly what you responded to? As you talked about Amazon, which promotes excess consumption and takes multiple forms. I mean, what is Adam Levitan thinking in this statement?
I don't know who he is.
I don't either. But he has a lot of followers, if that means anything.
Well, so did Mao.
Not on Twitter, though.
Look, the root of that discussion was a lawsuit that was filed in New Jersey because an ex-wife of a degenerate gambler wants to blame DraftKings for the fact that her ex-husband was a degenerate gambler. Now, there were certain allegations made in that lawsuit that might have merit. I don't know. And it was of all the sports betting is evil lawsuits, I think this might have been the best one, at least in terms of substance. Again, I don't know if any of it's true, but the lawsuit alleges that, the people at DraftKings violated their own policy and they violated the regulations in the state of New Jersey. So, I mean, it was Pennsylvania. I think it's Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
So that's like a serious thing if it's true. Like that's legitimate. And again, it talked about credit cards. I don't know offhand the law in Pennsylvania. In Massachusetts, you cannot fund a betting account with a credit card. And right now, DraftKings just went through a 7-hour hearing
You
spread out
can't
over
in Florida
2 days.
either.
It was a 7-hour hearing spread out over 2 days because they had inadvertently taken funds that were deposited by credit card holders in other states, and those funds were used to wager in Massachusetts. So that's how strict and important this issue is for the regulators. Now, I don't know the facts of this case in Pennsylvania, but if the credit cards were allowed to fund the betting accounts in Pennsylvania, then I don't think that's, I don't know what was wrong about that. Now, it gets into gray area about how the VIP, whatever they're called, VIP handlers, were supposed to be monitoring his income, and they're supposed to be aware of, like, where's the money coming from? That's a greater issue in gambling in general. It's, money laundering or using, funds that are either, illicit or there's a line here. It's almost like it's sort of the difference between almost legal and barely legal.
Mm-hmm.
This is the kind of the line from what I've read in this case, is that what DraftKings did was that legal but sort of wrong, or was that in violation of the regulations in their own house rules? That's the line in that case. If it's just wrong, then you're a degenerate gambler. It's your fault. But if they were, as this lawsuit has alleged, if they were in violation of their own policies, their own house rules, and the state regulations, then that's an entirely different dynamic. So of all the BS cases, this is actually one worth watching if the facts alleged are even partially true. I'm dealing with the tribe myself right now in regard to some public information that I've requested. These companies do not give up anything in terms of information unless they absolutely have to.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest concern for DraftKings in a case like this isn't necessarily if they have to pay this guy, it's the disclosure.
Yeah.
And that's really what this lawsuit is about. It's about the potential of disclosure of information that, DraftKings had. So they got a big, they got a couple of big questions to answer here. Number one is, does the lawsuit have merit or not?
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't have merit, you're going to fight it. If it does have merit, you're going to fight it, but you're going to be willing to settle. If you settle, does that open the doors for other people? Or do you say, screw it, we're going to go to the mattresses. Disclosure be damned, because we have to nip this in the bud. Like in the words of Clemenza, where he said we should have stopped the son of a bitch in Munich.
Munich. You should have let him get away with that. Exactly.
So you have to, they have you have to look at the facts of the case. And you have to weigh the monetary damages, which are really the smallest concern for everybody, but apparently this woman who claims that her family lost $940,000. So that's a really interesting case. But to take that issue and to try to extrapolate it into the trite narrative of, oh my God, sports betting is terrible, it's evil, it's the end of the world. That tells me right there you're an idiot. You have no idea what you're talking about.
The people are lost.
Anyone who complains, look, for my company, the best thing for my company would be for sports betting advertising to be banned, because we're a third-party marketing company. So they would the only way they would ever get new customers is to deal with companies like mine.
Yep.
So from our company's perspective, it would be great if all ads were banned. Because we don't do ads. We market to people through content, through people like me following me, and then they say, oh, I want this deal at DraftKings. So, and that's First Amendment protected. So that would be the best thing for our company. But it's a terrible argument because of, first of all, these companies have pulled way back on their ads. There were 4 sports betting spots available in the last Super Bowl, and only 3 were sold.
Mm-hmm.
That's my first argument to this guy, whoever he is.
Yeah.
My second argument is the one that I made on social media is why sports betting, and why not Amazon and Walmart that, they use the same algorithms. They use the same algorithms that sports betting companies use, that social media uses. All of these companies use the same tools. All of the, where people say, oh my God, they send emails to tell me to bet. How many emails do you get from Walmart? How many emails do you get from Amazon? How many emails? You get emails from every time you've ever shopped anywhere. You get emails. Every time you look up, you search something on the internet. I just bought these beautiful new glasses.
Yep.
So now I get 85 ads for glasses every time I go looking for something. That is in every business. Everything that's online is the same. So when you single out sports betting, you have a different agenda. Your agenda isn't, oh my God, the masses are being exploited. Because if that was your agenda, you would start at the top. You would start with Amazon and Walmart. You'd work your way down with any hard alcohol, a hard liquor drink that's marketed, with young, thin people having fun and fornicating off screen. You'd move on to processed foods, candy bars, chips, anything that's prepackaged, soda, Coca-Cola without the cane sugar.
Yeah.
And you go on and on and on down the list, and then you get to sports betting. So that's a passive aggressive narrative driven statement where you don't like sports betting for whatever reason, and I accept that. But then don't try to pretend that you're just being a neutral observant and offering facts to both. No, you're full of it.
Yeah.
Because again, if your concern is exploitation, begin and end with any institution that takes credit cards for anything. And again, in a lot of states, they don't do that for gambling. So, I think it's great in Massachusetts that you don't do that. That's a great argument for the betting operators in the states that don't take credit cards to say, look, we make people, we don't take credit cards. We don't take money that's funded by credit. And if it happens, we're going to get our ass dragged through the mud for 7 hours by the Massachusetts Gaming Commission, even though we've admitted to doing what we've already done. So that's a kind of a big picture view of sort of, and there was a bill proposed. It's a lame duck session. It doesn't mean anything, but there was kind of another one of these quasi federal regulatory bills proposed by Mike Lee of Utah, and I think it's Welch, who's a Democrat from Vermont, about that DraftKings and FanDuel have a monopoly. Mm-hmm. Well, they have 70% of the market, but this market is 6 years old, and they went out and earned that 70% of the market.
Yep.
And they had the foresight to I don't know why we should penalize those companies who took multi-million-dollar losses for years on daily fantasy, because they knew that sports betting was coming. So they risked their capital and gave millions and millions of dollars away on fantasy, and did it before it was neither legal nor illegal, and eventually it was regulated, and they said fine, regulate it. But the point is that these companies had the foresight to see an industry 10 years down the line, and now that they're successful at it, these people who don't know anything about gambling, Mike Lee's from Utah, he doesn't know what a point spread is. He comes along and says, oh, they have an illegal monopoly, and they fix the price. Well, dude, I mean, every book in Las Vegas, no one wants to be more than a half a point alone on any line anywhere. You don't want to be the guy who's 2 points off everybody else. And as far as the juice goes, I mean, if the juice is too high, then people will just stop betting, or it'll open the door for other companies that provide better deals.
He hasn't seen that line in Utah, the polygamy line, minus 2.5 wives. That doesn't exist. I'm just.
Oh yeah, well yeah, that was probably the. Well, I think it's the more compelling line in Utah is the over under on 14.5.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
In terms of age.
Yeah.
Spousal age in Utah, 14.5. Maybe Mike took the under. I'm not saying he did or he didn't.
Bill, you're the best. Thanks so much. Bill Sparrows from the Boston Herald and senior betting analyst from bookies.com. Always a pleasure. Thanks for the extended interview. This was awesome. And we will talk again soon. Appreciate you.
Okay, thanks, Pete.
All right, thanks a lot. There he is, Bill Sparrows, joining us here. Quick break, and then Kevin McNamara is going to join us as well, college basketball insider, men's college basketball insider, and talk show host on WPRO, one of the best in the business. Coming up next here on the Pete Sheppard Show on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Chicken and Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu.
Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it gardenia. It's pronounced Chardonnay.
Hey everybody, it's Pete Sheppard from the Coastal Sports Network. Want to tell you about my good friend Lou DiMuzio and his company. Lou is the president and founder of Ace Technology Advisors. They're big-time tech specialists. At ATA, they're able to craft, implement, and manage the best and most appropriate solution for your business. They leverage their industry-leading experience and their portfolio of technology partners to improve your best practices and infrastructure. So you can get a hold of them at 888-599-4223. That's 888-599-4223. Check them out on their webpage, www.acetechadvisors.com. That's www.acetechadvisors.com. Or you can email them, sales@acetechadvisors.com. Check out my friend Lou DiMuzio and Ace Technology Advisors.
Eye on Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Eye on Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Eye on Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, groan-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And, with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have anybody to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. No, you won't. Because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Don't spaz out because your team lost. Let Pete do it for you. Now, back to the Pete Sheppard Show.
It's only fitting. Welcome back. Final segment of the Pete Sheppard Show today. Here on this gorgeous day here in Southwest Florida, 69 degrees. Heading up to 80 today. Kevin McNamara, one of my favorite people on the planet, and that's why I have to play Hoosiers, because he is Mr. Basketball, Mr. College Basketball. Great to have Kevin here, one of the great men's college basketball insiders, has a show on WPRO as well, well known throughout the country, not just in the New England area. Kevin, good morning. Thanks for taking a few. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Pete. Always great to see you. A little depressing to hear that weather forecast, but not surprised. Not surprised.
Oh, I heard, though, it's going to be like in the 60s up there tomorrow. Did I not? Is that true?
60s and 2 inches of rain. It's an odd storm that's coming in and coming out. So, but that's okay. We'll be indoors at basketball games.
Absolutely, and let's get right into it. So far, there has been a lot of interesting scenarios that have happened in the men's college basketball world thus far. A lot of it having to do with UConn. I want to start there with you because obviously, I'm still a Big East guy through and through, and you cover the Friars, and you're just a big major college basketball insider anyway. Let's start with UConn. I knew they would rebound after their disastrous Maui trip. I really thought they'd beat Baylor. I had no doubt they were going to win on the road against Texas. You talk about travel. This is why when Coach Hurley said after the Hawaiian trip that I'm not going to do this anymore. Okay, but then you get Baylor at home, then you're flying to Texas. I mean, let's start there with UConn. They're going to be there in the end. I know they are. Everybody knows it, barring any major injury. What do you think how Dan Hurley handled Hawaii?
Well, obviously he needs to dial it back from time to time. I think it was blowing his mind that his team's defense was so bad. And to his credit, he didn't sugarcoat it. He said our defense cost us all 3 games. Dan, from his time back at Rhode Island, would always kind of put something out there. He would have a vision of how his team is supposed to be and talk it into existence. And I think that's the case with this year's UConn team. If you listen closely to him, he'll say, well, we don't play defense like that. Well, you just lost 2 guys to the NBA in the first 2 lottery picks, 3 NBA draft picks. This is a totally different team. Now, this team may become a good defensive team, but why would it be a good defensive team 2 weeks into the season playing the type of competition that you have to out in Maui? To your point, Pete, once they got their feet under themselves a little bit, they went out and played 2 pretty good games. By the way, Baylor almost beat them. Baylor's a very good ball club.
Very good team. That was a great win. They were underdogs at home in that game, if I remember correctly.
They were. Yeah. And, they still have to play Gonzaga. And I do love how, Coach Hurley says, we're not going to play in those 3-game MTEs. It's not because the competition is too strong and not because it's too far. No, it cost them 3 home games, and money runs the world.
Well, I want to stick with the Big East for now, for a couple more minutes with you, and then switch to the SEC. And our friend Rick Barnes, and is this the final of the year? I have a lot of friends in Tennessee, and I tell them every single year, Rick's a great coach, but it's like Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park. Life finds a way. Tennessee will. Rick Barnes will find a way to lose, but we'll get to that in a second. So far, let me talk about my Providence College Friars, and always depressing to lose to Rhode Island for me. I'm not surprised at all. I'm not surprised, but Bryce Hopkins back. I think an interesting game coming up tonight against DePaul. It'd be nice to get that win on the road. But let me ask you about Providence College and Rhode Island. Rhode Island being 9-0. at this point in the season. Surprising to you what's going on over there with Monsieur Miller?
Absolutely. First of all, Archie Miller has always been a very good coach. He was an excellent coach at Dayton. He was a solid coach at Indiana. He got fired during the pandemic year. Ridiculous. I mean, that was a non-season, and they hold it against the coach. He should still be the coach at Indiana, in my eyes. Anyways, at Rhode Island, he's had 2 rebuilding years where he did not handle the transfer portal well. This year he did, and they're 9-0. They play at Brown tonight. I think they'll beat Brown. They could easily be undefeated going into Atlantic 10 play. And sorry, Pete, they could be in the top 25 going into Atlantic 10 play, which would be quite a story. Providence is a little upside down now. It looks like they probably made a couple mistakes in the transfer portal. And in basketball, if you take 1-year guys, 1-year transfers, and they don't make an instant impact, well, time's ticking, right? You only have them for 1 year. And they have 2 guys who are not – they're not carrying their weight right now, and that's really costing Kim English's team. And watch DePaul. DePaul could be the surprise of the Big East this season. And I'm not saying that they win the Big East, but they're going to win some games, unlike the last, how many other years, right?
No, exactly. And just quick, you probably know this. Jacob Meyer, is he related to, is he a Meyer DePaul lineage?
I don't know that. I do know that their head coach Chris Holtmann did a great job in the Big East at Butler. Again, very solid, but not great at Ohio State. And at Ohio State, they just write the check. And DePaul's happy to have Chris Holtmann as the coach.
Yeah. How about Joseph Bensley so far? I mean, look, I think these Friars with Hopkins back are starting to find their own. It's no excuse for blowing a 10-point lead, but in that gym, in that environment, I actually thought it'd be a lot louder, to be honest with you, than it was. But no disgrace losing to that team in that arena. I think it's a very, very tough place to play for anybody. But as far as this, with Hopkins back now, how far can this Providence College team go, barring any major, if they stay reasonably healthy?
Yeah, the issue right now, Pete, is the non-conference is basically over. Providence has only one non-conference game left. They'll play St. Bonnie at Mohegan Casino on the weekend. They have one game to show for it. They beat BYU at home handily. That's it. That's not going to get it done come Selection Sunday. They're going to have to go into the Big East and do a big-time job. I don't know, maybe a dozen wins. Have a hard time believing that this team can do that. But that's probably what they're facing because they just swung and missed too often in the non-conference. And, it is what it is. Bryce Hopkins at a full, he can be a all Big East player. He's not just yet. I think I'm more concerned about the people around Bryce Hopkins than Bryce himself.
All right. So
sorry, no uplifting news here.
No,
Pete.
no. I think it's all reality. And Oklahoma isn't ranked yet, right? They're close, but they're not ranked yet. Why do I get the feeling that loss, if they are a bubble team again, is going to come back to bite them in the butt? A team that ended up winning that whole tournament in the Bahamas, but 2 bad losses after that. I was really disappointed in how they didn't show up, against Dayton and Indiana. Very disappointing.
Yeah, Oklahoma snuck in this week. They're like 15 or so, undefeated, deservedly so. But, again, great opportunity at the Battle for Atlantis. To lose to Davidson was an absolute killer. Davidson is a solid team.
13, right, yes.
Yeah, but middle of the road in the Atlantic 10, and they absolutely got whacked. And then took them home and lose to Rhode Island on the road. That's their only non-conference road game. Again, the resume is paper thin for the Friars right now.
No question about it. So what do you think overall the Big East, Big 12 matchups, the SEC, ACC stuff, which unfortunately the SEC has been dominating. I'm
really
about sick of the SEC network as far as football goes. But you like these interconference things? I mean, back in the day when it was Big East, Big 10, right? That was one of the first ones to do it, if I remember correctly. But you like this interconference stuff early on?
They're great, and sorry to be the bearer of bad news. The big football conferences don't like them. They don't like giving the Big East opportunities to beat them and pump up their resumes.
Yep.
I think the Big 12 Big East thing might have one more year left. I really do hope it gets extended. I know the Big East is trying to get another conference rivalry series going. The Big 10 dropped it. The Gavitt Games is done. It's really too bad. Those big Don't get me started on college football because it's ruined college sports big time. I know the playoff is great, and we're all, we'll watch the playoff, but it's good for college football. It's bad for college sports. And these super big, conferences, they just want to play themselves, play a couple easy non-conference games, maybe one or two, intersectional ones against, the ACC teams. They don't want the Big East to be showing up on Selection Sunday and getting 5, 6, 7 bids any longer. And by squeezing them out, that's a great way to get it done. But anyways, with the Big East, Big 12, Big East did a good job. Obviously, Creighton beating Kansas, but then Creighton lost Pop Isaacs to an injury, just a devastating injury
awful.
for Creighton. Really sets them back.
Kansas loses to Missouri again, back-to-back. I mean, it's been kind of kooky. Gonzaga has been, they have a couple of losses already. Tennessee's undefeated with Rick Barnes, and it's.
I know where you're going.
It is, and I'm rooting for the guy. I really hope he wins it all. I mean, if there's ever been a coach that, I think he's a nice man. From what I interviewed him before and covered him a little bit, you covered him a lot more. But between from Providence to Texas, Clemson, Tennessee, it's the same scenario every single year. We're going to come so close, whether it's a Sweet 16 or Elite 8, or maybe we get to the Final Four. I mean, is this the year for Tennessee, do you think, Kevin?
I'm not convinced. I need to see Tennessee more. I need to see their offense. Rick is a good friend. I still speak to him to this day. I covered him for 5 years when he was a coach at Providence. I thought, Pete, last year was the year. I really thought that they had the ingredients because they had a great offensive player in Dalton Knecht. We see what he's doing out with the Lakers right now.
Phenomenal. I thought that was a steal of the draft, by the way.
Steal of the
I
draft.
hate to give Lakers credit, but I thought that was a steal of the draft, that he fell that low.
Absolutely. And, they lost a very competitive NCAA tournament game. He's a great defensive coach. His defensive, metrics year after year after year are outstanding. And that's going to win you a lot of games and get you a really good seed. But at some point, you have to put together, I wouldn't say 6 good offensive games, but 5 good offensive games in the NCAA tournament. And that's where Tennessee has hit the wall, and they do not have a Dalton Knecht this year. But Chaz Lanier is off to a very, very good start for the Vols.
If I had to pick, and I've watched a lot of college basketball already, mostly Big East stuff, but a lot of outside. I'm fascinated as usual by Auburn. I love Bruce Pearl as a coach. He should have been at Boston College years ago if they didn't have such a snotty attitude about little vices, grievances, or whatever.
Sure.
But if I had to pick a championship team, I probably would pick them.
Yeah, they lost at Duke, but who wins at Duke? I mean, really difficult. And by the way,
crazy atmosphere, by the way, as usual.
Really is. And, you put that on a neutral court. I like Auburn's chances as well. The good news about college basketball, and you appreciate this, Pete, unlike most people in the South who really don't pay attention to college basketball until after the bowl games are over, these games are important to your resume. But, boy, there's so many games to go. Who knows what Auburn looks like in February when they're grinding away, when it's difficult to scratch out any road wins and get ready for March. I think Kentucky's going to be an excellent story. Forget those one and dones. Forget Coach Cal's, approach. Mark Pope got experienced transfers. They're playing very, very well. They're an interesting team. They'll be better than Arkansas because Arkansas is too young. Kansas, like you said, stubbed their toe 2 games last week. Veterans. Hunter Dickinson's like 36. I mean, he will be there in March. He'll be a factor. There's other teams that, be honest with you, I'm interested in what you think of Florida. I haven't seen Florida for a full game. They're off to an outstanding start.
They're very well coached. That's a very good basketball team. The disappointing team down here has been Miami and Coach Larinaga. I mean, they got Tennessee tonight.
Ooh.
So they got a chance to maybe redeem themselves. And I love Jim. And when I was at the Final Four covering a couple of years ago, I mean, he had a nice 15-minute conversation with him. It was really nice of him. And we were talking about the glory days of Providence. My dad went there and how I get to follow him and all that stuff. But the Gators Miami's been extremely disappointed. They got creamed in a couple of games.
They did.
Really bad. I think Charleston beat them, I don't know, it seemed like by 50. They couldn't, but this Florida team is the real deal. And
Pete,
the SEC's tough. The SEC, Florida, Auburn, and Tennessee, that's tough. Tough to argue.
Don't leave out Kentucky. I mean, Kentucky's off to a great start. I mean,
Kentucky.
It's easily the best league. It's easily the deepest league. I like when you talk about leagues, you have to have national championship contenders. They do. Don't listen to any of the hot air about the Big Ten every single year. How many times do we have to hear about the Big Ten and their metrics and their Ken Palms? It's I've watched many of those teams already. I don't know if I like any of them. I don't really like. Purdue was better last year. Indiana, I saw them against Providence. They're talented, but not a good. SEC is where it's at. Maybe it's all about the money. We know that the SEC has the money, and they're paying big NIL roles on their basketball teams as well.
Look, I still think the Big East, when it's all said and done, is going to get at least 5 in. And speaking of the Big East again, and I teared up the other day when Louis Carnesecca passed away. I mean, you talk about unbelievable gentlemen, icons, and the kids who weren't around for the Big East in their glory days with him. You just missed out, right? I mean, as I called him, lovable Louis back in the day. Is there anybody that's typified more of any one institution in the history of sports than that man at St. John's? Just amazing. I know you probably talked to him a lot more than I did. I have a couple of times, but not as in. I'm sure you know him a lot more in depth than I did. He's the real deal, right? I mean, he was the real deal.
He was the real deal. I caught him only the last, I'd say, maybe 4 years of his coaching career. But boy, I always made sure he was at St. John's all the time, and I made sure all the time to go and say hello and whatnot. And he'd ask for one thing: how's Coach Gavitt? How's Coach Gavitt? How's Dave Gavitt? And that's how it was. Pete, we're old enough that we remember when Louis Carnesecca was a great coach before the Big East, the late 70s.
They were getting tournaments all the time.
Wayne McCoy, Frankie Alasia. He had great teams in the 70s. We know what he had in the 80s. He had a Final Four team with Chris Mullen and Walter Berry. Is certainly a national championship level team. Beyond that, be honest with you, they should have won more. They had very, very good teams. They only had one Final Four team. And you're right. St. John's, Louis Carnesecca, Syracuse, Jim Boeheim. You can't get more synonymous with an institution than that guy.
No, and this I want to bring up to you too, as long as we're talking about the Big East, and and I think I might have brought this up to you before, Requiem of the Big East. Well, it's such a great documentary. It's fantastic, and I understand it. I know a lot of it was focused on Georgetown and Syracuse. I understand all that. What I don't understand, Kevin, is I think they could have done a little bit more homework and put some of those early John Bagley and to a degree afterwards Michael Adams Boston College teams. And people don't realize BC was as good as Syracuse and Georgetown. And St. John. They would beat them. If not for Pearl Washington and a crazy half-court shot, BC would have, And even after that, they beat the Rolando Blackmans when Kansas was top-ranked and everything else. But I don't think they got the respect that they really should have deserved as far as getting the Big East going. They were as much responsible as Syracuse and Georgetown and St. John's was BC. They were a really good basketball team. Not just under Gary Williams, but Dr. Tom Davis before he left from that.
Sure.
I mean, they were as good as anybody back then.
Absolutely. I still speak frequently with Tim O'Shea, who was a guard on those teams. Jay Murphy, who was a great player, went to the NBA. First of all, anyone who played in the NBA in the Big East at that time, they loved coming to Boston College because they were the first school to go big time. They played games at Boston Garden. The kids were thrilled to play at the Garden. That team, I believe, lost to Phi Slama Jama in an Elite Eight game.
Yes.
They had Final Four worthy talent. There's no two ways about it. But the league was just so good. But they had deeper runs than Syracuse before Syracuse went to the 87 Final Four. So it's an excellent point.
Yeah, and they were playing the three schools that went big time first, as far as which Dave wanted out of the bandboxes. BC at the Garden, I think Villanova at the Spectrum, and obviously St. John's at MSG. I mean, those were the three that really got it going initially. As far as getting and then Georgetown started to play at the Cap Center.
Pete, you know what bothers me about that ESPN documentary, Requiem for the Big East? Well, first of all, Requiem means death. That is not the case. I mean, since the Requiem came out, the Big East has won 4 national championships. I mean, what are we talking? 2 at Villanova and 2 at Connecticut. What are we talking about here?
No, I agree. I think they, as far as you're right. It's like it's a double standard. You can make arguments both ways, but I get it. But, initially when they, added Creighton and they went this route, I wasn't sure how it was going to go. I love it. I love it. I love the teams that are in the Big East right now. It's still one of the major top conferences, top to bottom. I think it's tough on any given night. And, when it's all said and done, they're going to be there for, I think, with at least 5 bids. I'm looking forward to Providence tonight. They've had DePaul's number. I think they've won how many games in a row over there on the road, and then they have a ridiculous record against them all the time.
Watch DePaul this year. They've done an excellent job in the transfer portal. They really, really shoot the three. DePaul's going to win some games this year. I hate to say it, Big East fans. Trip to Chicago is no longer a layup.
I hope it's not tonight. Joey on the text line says, Kevin, best hairline on YouTube sports shows. Great segment of conversation. Thanks. Coastal Sports Network. Good morning from Colorado. Yeah, Joey's big. He's out there in Colorado. Big Buffalo fan as well. Kev, man, thanks so much. Let's do this sooner rather than later. This is great. Always a pleasure catching out. So now, plug away. What is going on? I know you're on WPRO. I know you have a show on there. What are you doing?
Yeah, Kevin Mack Sports Hour is 5 to 7 on WPRO, W790 The Score. Hey, if you have the Alexa, just say WPRO, 6 o'clock. Monday through Friday. Appreciate it. I also write for Kevin Mack Sports, and am now freelancing for the Boston Globe a few times a month, anyways, during college basketball season. How about that, Pete? The Boston Globe caring about college basketball. What's up with that?
What has happened? God, the humanity. Yeah. By the way, if you ever run into my friend Pat Duquette, head coach at UMass Lowell, please give him my best. One of my favorite people in the business. I usually have him on at the end of tournament time, and he's done an amazing job. I'm still amazed. Quick,
just beat UMass.
Yeah. Yes. Again, that's not the first time that he's beaten them in his career. And he's great. I mean, he goes out and plays anybody. I remember his first game in Division I. Remember the first game they played Division I many years ago at Michigan? That was his first game.
There you go. Yeah. No, excellent coach. He's getting. I hate to say it, Pete. Like us, he's getting a little older, so maybe he's not seen as someone who can coach at the next level. But there's no question he can win at the higher level.
I don't get it. I really don't understand. You can't. And maybe he just likes it there. I don't know. They love him there. I don't know how he hasn't moved. I'm sure he's gotten offers. He's had to move up in some of the not just mid-major conferences, but major conferences. He is that talented. I'm stunned at that.
Well, we'll see. Maybe he can get down there. Maybe he can go to Miami.
Well, if we replace Jim Larinaga, I wouldn't mind that. I mean, I love Jim. I mean, he's done an amazing job. They're just they've been in a big rut this year. They lost what's his name? They're one of the best players to Providence this year.
Eventually, and how about Norshad? Norshad's playing great at Baylor. I mean, that's what it's all about. You not only have to bring in transfers, you have to retain your best talent. It's constant recruiting for these guys. I don't know how they do it. It's a totally different job than it was 5 years ago.
I don't either. And then down here, about an hour and 40 minutes, but Dusty May, who was at FAU last year, a phenomenal team. Now he's at Michigan. I kind of root for him. He's a real good guy. He's an excellent coach. And I don't know what the Wolverines, I mean, they're doing pretty well so far this year, but we'll see what happens. Kev, you're the best. Thanks so much. And we'll look forward to talking again sooner rather than later. All the best.
Same to you. We'll do it in the new year. Have a Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas to you and your family. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Kevin McNamara, right there, one of the best major men's college basketball insiders right there, joining me here on the Coastal Sports Network on the Pete Sheppard Show. He is a man. We've been friends for a long time. We covered a lot of high school stuff together. Can remember a couple of years, hours at a time, me doing play-by-play, along with my buddy Mick Colaggio, doing high school basketball from noon to basically, 11 o'clock at night, different games all over the place. And Kev was a great writer for the Providence Journal back then, and he would always come on at halftime. Great stuff. All right. That's about going to do it for me. Let me see. Let's see. We'll end with this. The FYC, Fine Young Cannibals. Thanks to my guest, Kevin McNamara, who you just heard. Thanks to Bill Sparrows. I am off tomorrow because I have a big-time doctor's appointment, my biannual one that I need to go to, and it's early in the morning, so no show for me tomorrow. I will be back on Thursday with a tremendous show, including Rick Horrow on Thursday, our sports business guru. I believe we will also have Trevor Harris from WQAM in Miami. And on Friday, Sean McAdam with the baseball meetings in Dallas, along with Gabe Morency. And some other good stuff. Joe Zagacki is going to join me on Thursday as well, the voice of the Miami Hurricanes. And they have a big game tonight, by the way, against Tennessee. But on Thursday, Joe's going to join me at 9:30 a.m., I believe. So lots of big shows coming up for you. But stay tuned across the Coastal Sports Network for a whole bunch of great stuff. Always a pleasure, everybody. Thanks. I'll be back on Thursday at 7 a.m. See ya.